Hello friends. Did you know nearly 80% of those who watch my videos aren't subscribed? If you enjoy these stories, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It really helps. Thank you for being here. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. The humidity hit me like a wet blanket the moment I cracked open the cab door. Florida in August. Thick air that sticks to your skin and makes you regret every life choice that brought you here. My name's Orville. Been driving these roads for 23 years. Mostly night shifts because the rates are better and the highways are emptier. That particular night in August 2023, I was hauling refrigerated produce from Miami up to Jacksonville. Nothing special, just another run I'd done hundreds of times before. I'd been on the road since 9 p.m., and it was pushing 2 in the morning when I noticed something was off. You develop a sixth sense after years of driving. You know every sound your rig makes, every vibration, every little quirk. That night, there was something different about the cab. Can't explain it exactly, just felt like the air was wrong. Like when you walk into your house and know immediately someone's been there. I pulled off at a way station near Fort Pierce to do my regular checks. The place was dead. No DOT officers, no other trucks, just me and the buzzing fluorescent lights. I grabbed my flashlight and did a walk around, checking the tires, the refrigeration unit, the door seals. Everything looked fine from the outside. But when I climbed back into the cab, that feeling got stronger. The dashboard clock read 2:17 a.m. I reached for my thermos of coffee, and that's when I saw it. A tiny red light, no bigger than a pinhead, blinking from somewhere near the overhead compartment. At first, I thought maybe it was just a reflection from outside, but when I moved my head, the angle stayed wrong. The light was inside the cab. I've installed plenty of equipment in my years. GPS units, dash cams, CB radios. I know what belongs and what doesn't. This wasn't mine. My hands started sweating despite the AC running full blast. I grabbed my flashlight and stood up in the cab, careful not to bump my head on the sleeper berth entrance. The red light blinked again. Steady rhythm, like a heartbeat. There it was. Tucked into the corner where the windshield meets the roof liner, barely visible unless you were looking for it. A small black device, maybe the size of a quarter, with a tiny lens pointed directly at the driver's seat. My stomach dropped. Someone had put a camera in my truck. I sat back down heavy in the seat, mind racing. When? Where? The truck had been locked whenever I wasn't in it. I'd been driving solo for the past 3 days, no passengers, no lot lizards, nobody. The only time anyone else had access was during loading and unloading, but those guys never come near the cab. I thought about ripping it out right then, but something stopped me. If someone was watching, they'd know I found it. Better to play dumb, at least until I figured out what was going on. I forced myself to act normal, took a sip of coffee, adjusted my mirrors, checked my phone like nothing was wrong. But my hands were shaking. The dispatcher, Mabel, picked up on the third ring. She'd been working nights at the company for 15 years, knew every driver by voice. Orville? Everything all right? You're not scheduled to check in for another hour. I kept my voice steady. Yeah, Mabel, just wanted to confirm the delivery address. Having some GPS issues. It was a lie, but I needed to talk to someone, needed to hear a familiar voice. Same as always, Jacksonville Distribution Center, Bay Street. You feeling okay? You sound different. Just tired. Hey, Mabel, has anyone been asking about my routes lately? Any new personnel at the terminals? There was a pause. That's an odd question. Not that I know of. Why? No reason. Just curious. I'll check in when I hit Jacksonville. I hung up before she could ask more questions. The red light kept blinking. I wondered how long it had been there. Days, weeks. Someone had been watching me, watching everything I did in this cab. Every phone call, every stop, every time I changed clothes in the sleeper. The thought made my skin crawl. I pulled back onto I-95, trying to think clearly. Who would do this? I didn't haul anything valuable enough to warrant surveillance. Produce doesn't exactly attract high-level criminals. No angry ex-wife, no gambling debts, no enemies I could think of. I kept to myself, did my job, went home to an empty apartment. The highway stretched out ahead, empty except for the occasional car passing in the left lane. Every few minutes I'd glance at that red light, wondering if someone was watching me right now. Were they recording? Streaming? What did they want? About 30 miles north, I pulled into a rest stop. Needed to think, needed to get out of that cab for a minute. The rest area was mostly empty. Couple of RVs, a few cars, one other semi parked at the far end. I walked around the truck 3 times, checking underneath, checking the trailer, looking for anything else that didn't belong. Nothing. When I got back in the cab, I noticed something else. My logbook, which I always kept in the side pocket, had been moved. Just slightly, but I'm particular about these things. Someone had been in here while I was gone. At a rest stop. In the 5 minutes I'd been outside. I locked the doors and started the engine, heart pounding. As I pulled out, I saw headlights in my mirror. A car had been parked in the shadows, lights off, and now it was following me out. Not close, but matching my speed, keeping pace. When I moved to the middle lane, it did too. When I slowed down, it slowed down. The camera kept blinking. The car kept following. And I still had 200 miles to Jacksonville. I reached for the CB radio, then stopped. If they were listening to the camera, they might be monitoring the radio too. I was alone out here, truly alone, with someone watching every move I made. The Florida highway had never felt more dangerous. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, I let it go to voicemail. It buzzed again. Same number. This time I answered, keeping my eyes on the road and that car in my mirrors. Hello? Silence. Not dead air, but that kind of silence where you know someone's there, listening, breathing. I could hear something in the background, road noise, like they were driving too. Who is this? Still nothing. Then, just before I was about to hang up, a voice, male, calm, almost friendly. You're doing fine, Orville. Just keep driving. Don't do anything stupid. The line went dead. My mouth went dry. They knew my name. They were watching me right now through that camera, and they wanted me to know it. This wasn't random. This was planned. I thought about calling 911, but what would I say? Someone put a camera in my truck and told me to keep driving? They'd think I was paranoid or high. Truckers aren't exactly known for their mental stability after too many night shifts. The car behind me had moved closer, maybe 300 feet back now. I could make out the shape. Looked like a sedan. Dark color, probably blue or black. No front plate that I could see. Florida doesn't require them, which makes tracking someone a lot harder. Mile marker 167 came and went. The camera blinked. The car followed. My phone stayed silent. I started thinking about Elmer, the mechanic at our terminal. He'd worked on my rig last week, routine maintenance. Good guy, been there forever, knows engines better than anyone. But he'd been acting strange lately, nervous, jumpy. When I'd asked him about it, he'd just muttered something about management breathing down his neck. What if someone had gotten to him? Paid him to install that camera, or threatened him. Elmer had grandkids, a sick wife. Everyone's got pressure points. The Vero Beach exit was coming up. I considered pulling off, finding a well-lit truck stop, maybe a place with security cameras. But that voice echoed in my head. Just keep driving. What would happen if I didn't? Would they call the cops, claim I was carrying something illegal, plant something in my trailer? I'd heard stories. Drivers finding drugs hidden in their loads, getting arrested at weigh stations, swearing they didn't know anything about it. Most of them probably were guilty, but what if some weren't? What if this was how it started? The clock hit 3 a.m. Jacksonville was still 2 hours away at this speed. The car had backed off slightly, but was still there. I tried to get a look at the driver when we passed under streetlights, but the windows were tinted. Could have been anyone. Could have been multiple people. My fuel gauge showed 3/4 full, enough to make Jacksonville without stopping. Good. The fewer stops, the fewer opportunities for whatever this was to escalate. But my bladder had other ideas. Too much coffee, too much stress. I could hold it maybe another hour, tops. The camera kept its rhythm. Blink, 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 like it was counting down to something. I thought about my route. I'd been running the same lanes for 3 years. Miami to Jacksonville, Jacksonville to Tampa, Tampa back to Miami. Clockwork. Predictable. Anyone who wanted to study my patterns would have had plenty of time. But why? What was special about tonight? Then it hit me. The load. I hadn't thought much about it when I picked up. Just another refrigerated trailer full of produce. But the paperwork had been different. Usually I get a detailed manifest. So many crates of tomatoes, so many boxes of lettuce, weights, destinations. This time, it just said agricultural products with a weight total. Mabel had mentioned it was a new client, some export company. What if there was something else in that trailer? Something hidden among the legitimate cargo? And what if I was supposed to be the fall guy if it got discovered? The car behind me suddenly accelerated, pulling into the left lane. My grip tightened on the wheel as it came alongside me. I kept my eyes forward, peripheral vision tracking its movement. It matched my speed for about 10 seconds. Felt like an hour, then pulled ahead and merged back into my lane. Now I could see it clearly in my headlights. Dark blue sedan, Florida plate starting with Y. The driver never looked back, just maintained speed about 500 feet ahead, leading me now instead of following. My phone buzzed again, text message this time, unknown number. I glanced at it on the mount. Take exit 197, pull into the pilot station, park in the back row. Exit 197 was Fort Drum, middle of nowhere, the kind of place where bad things happen and nobody finds out until morning, if ever. Every instinct told me not to do it. But that camera was still watching, and now I had a car in front and probably another behind. I had to make a decision. Follow their instructions and maybe find out what this was about, or keep driving and risk them escalating. The exit was coming up in 5 miles. 4 miles. 3 miles. The sedan ahead put on its blinker, moving toward the exit lane. I checked my mirrors. Sure enough, another set of headlights had appeared behind me, matching my speed. Boxed in, 2 miles. I reached under my seat, feeling for the tire iron I kept there. Old habit from my first year driving when I'd gotten jumped at a rest stop in Alabama. Never had to use it, but it made me feel better. My fingers found the cold metal. 1 mile. The exit sign loomed in my headlights. Pilot Travel Center, 24-hour. At least it would be lit. Probably have other truckers around. Unless they'd picked this spot because they knew it would be empty at this hour. August weeknight, not a major trucking route. Could go either way. I put on my blinker. The sedan took the exit, smooth and easy. I followed, the truck behind me doing the same. As we rolled up the off-ramp, I could see the pilot sign glowing in the distance. The parking lot looked mostly empty. Few cars near the building, maybe 2 or 3 rigs in the truck parking area. The sedan continued into the lot, passing the fuel islands, heading towards the back like they knew exactly where they were going. Like they'd been here before, planned this out. I followed, every nerve on edge, that camera still blinking away above my head. The sedan pulled into a spot near the dumpsters, far from the building lights. Engine stayed running. Nobody got out. I pulled the rig into the back row as instructed, parking parallel to the building so my driver's side faced away from the store. The truck that had been following parked 2 spaces down, also kept running. For a moment, nothing happened. 3 vehicles, engines idling, waiting. The camera blinked. My hand stayed on the tire iron. Then my phone rang. Same, unknown number. This time I answered immediately. "Get out of the truck," the voice said. Same calm tone. "Leave your phone, leave your keys, walk to the sedan." "I don't think so," I said. There was a pause, then, "Orville, we know about your sister in Ocala, Mary, right? Night shift nurse at Regional Medical. Gets off at 7 a.m., drives home down Highway 200. Pretty isolated stretch of road." My blood went cold. I didn't have a sister, but I did have a daughter named Mary who worked nights at Ocala Regional. How did they know that? I hadn't seen or talked to her in 2 years, not since the divorce. She'd taken her mother's maiden name, moved away, wanted nothing to do with me. "You're bluffing," I said, but my voice cracked. Blue Honda Civic, license plate starting with K4P, lives in that apartment complex off Baseline Road. 2nd floor, unit 237, has a cat named Chester. Want me to keep going? My hand was shaking now. This wasn't about the truck or the cargo. This was about something else, something bigger. And they'd done their homework. "What do you want?" "Get out of the truck. We just want to talk. 5 minutes, then you can go. But if you don't, if you drive away, if you call anyone, well, Mary's shift ends in 4 hours. Lot can happen on that lonely stretch of road." I sat there for 30 seconds, mine it maybe, weighing options. The rational part of my brain said this was all wrong, that I should call 911 right now. But the father in me, even the estranged father, couldn't risk it. They knew too much. This was planned down to the detail. "Okay," I said, "I'm coming out." I set the phone on the dash, pulled the keys, and opened the door. The Florida heat hit me again, thick and oppressive even at 3 in the morning. I could hear insects buzzing in the woods beyond the parking lot. The sedan's headlights stayed on, making it hard to see inside. As I walked toward the car, I heard footsteps behind me. Someone from the other truck. I didn't turn around, just kept walking, counting steps. 20 feet, 15, 10. The sedan's back door opened. "Get in," the voice from the phone said, except now it was coming from inside the car. I bent down to look inside. The man in the back seat was nobody special. Middle-aged, clean-shaven, polo shirt. Could have been an insurance salesman or a real estate agent. The kind of face you forget 5 minutes after seeing it. He was holding a tablet, and on the screen was a feed from the camera in my truck. Clear as day, you could see my empty driver's seat. "Please," he said, gesturing to the spot beside him. "We don't have much time." I got in, the door closed. The driver didn't turn around, just kept facing forward. Through the back window, I could see someone climbing into my truck. They were wearing the same kind of clothes I wore. Jeans, work shirt, baseball cap. "What the hell is this?" I asked. The man turned the tablet toward me. The feed had changed. Now it was showing the interior of a different truck, different driver, but wait, I recognized that face. It was Eddie Torino, another driver from my company. He was singing along to the radio, oblivious to being watched. "Eddie's carrying a special load tonight," the man said. "Something that needs to disappear between Miami and Jacksonville, but Eddie doesn't know that, and neither did you." "I don't understand." "Your company moves more than produce, Orville. Has been for years. Management skims a little here, adds a little there. Sometimes they need drivers who won't ask questions. Sometimes they need drivers who will. And sometimes," he tapped the tablet, "they need drivers who can be in two places at once." The person in my truck started the engine. From this distance in the dark, wearing similar clothes, they could pass for me, especially if the only evidence was grainy camera footage. "Your truck is going to break down in about an hour," the man continued. "Right near mile marker 215. Terrible spot, no cell service. You'll be stranded for, 3 hours, maybe 4, just enough time for someone else to be driving a very similar truck through a way station near Yeehaw Junction. Similar enough that if anyone checks the logs, the times won't quite match up. You couldn't have been in both places. You're setting me up." "No, Orville, we're setting you free. That camera in your truck, we didn't put it there, your company did. They've been watching all their drivers, looking for the ones they can trust and the ones they can't. You're too clean, too honest. So they were going to make you dirty, willing or not." "You're lying." He showed me another screen on the tablet. Email exchanges between two people I didn't recognize, discussing the Orville problem and necessary leverage. One mentioned my daughter by name. "Who are you people?" I asked. "Better you don't know. Let's just say not everyone in your company agrees with the new business model. Some of us remember when it was just about moving freight, not moving weight." The man reached into a bag and pulled out an envelope, thick with cash. 20,000, he said. "Enough to relocate, start fresh. Maybe somewhere closer to Mary, mend some fences. And if I say no, then you get back in your truck and drive to Jacksonville, deliver your load. Pretend none of this happened. But in about a week, maybe 2, federal agents are going to find something very interesting in your trailer. Something you swear you didn't know about. And that camera footage? Well, it's going to show you meeting with some very questionable people at a rest stop. People who might have paid you to look the other way." My mouth was dry. "So I'm screwed either way." "No. If you take this deal, you disappear tonight. The truck breaks down. You abandon it, vanish. The company reports it stolen. The heat comes down on them, not you. You become a victim, not a suspect." "What about my daughter?" "She'll be protected. We have people watching. The company won't risk drawing attention to her once the feds start sniffing around." I stared at the envelope. 20 grand wasn't much for a life's work, but it was more than I'd saved in 23 years of driving. And if even half of what he was saying was true, my life as I knew it was over anyway. "How do I know you won't just kill me once I agree?" The man smiled. "Orville, if we wanted you dead, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd have had an accident somewhere on I-95. Tired driver, jackknifed trailer, happens all the time." He was right about that. I'd seen enough wrecks to know how easy it was to make one happen. A cut brake line, a blown steer tire at the right moment. Nobody would question it. I took the envelope. "Smart man," he said. "There's a car parked behind the building. Silver Toyota, keys under the visor. Drive north, don't stop until Georgia. There's a motel reservation in Valdosta under the name Tom Franklin. Stay there 3 days, then you're free to go wherever." "What about my stuff? My apartment?" "Forget it all. You're starting over. Clean slate." He opened the door, gesturing for me to get out. As I did, he grabbed my arm. "One more thing. That mechanic friend of yours, Elmer, he didn't want to install that camera. They threatened his granddaughter. Poor guy's been drinking himself sick over it. Maybe send him a postcard from wherever you end up. let him know you're okay. Then the door closed and the sedan pulled away. The other truck was already gone. My rig sat there in the parking lot, running, waiting for a driver who would never come back. I walked around the building and found the Toyota. Keys right where he said. The tank was full, and there was a bag in the back seat with clothes my size, toiletries, even a new phone still in the box. As I drove away from that pilot station, I watched my truck disappear in the rearview mirror. 23 years of my life sitting in a parking lot in the middle of nowhere, Florida. But I was alive, my daughter would be safe. And sometimes that's the best you can hope for. I never made it to Valdosta. Somewhere around the Georgia line, I pulled off and called Mary from the new phone. She didn't answer, probably didn't recognize the number. I left a voicemail telling her I loved her, that I was sorry for everything, and that I'd be in touch when I could. Then I turned west instead of north. Texas maybe, or New Mexico. Somewhere far from Florida, far from trucks, far from cameras hidden in dark corners. But sometimes, late at night, I still think about that camera blinking in my old cab. I wonder if it's still there, still recording, still watching some other driver who has no idea what's coming. 3 weeks before that night at the pilot station, everything had been normal. Or at least what passed for normal in the trucking world. I'd been hauling the Miami-Jacksonville route without incident, making my deliveries on time, keeping my logs clean. The money wasn't great, but it was steady. That's all I needed. The first sign something was off came during a regular Tuesday night run. I'd stopped at the terminal in Miami to pick up my load. Supposed to be 18 pallets of mixed produce heading to 3 different stops in Jacksonville. Mabel was working dispatch that night, like always. She'd been there so long she was practically part of the furniture. "Orville," she called out when I walked into the office. "Got something different for you tonight." I grabbed a cup of their terrible coffee from the machine. Different how? New client. Export company called Sunshine Agricultural Solutions. They specifically requested an experienced driver. Clean record, that's you. She handed me the paperwork. The manifest was vague. Just agricultural products with a total weight. No breakdown of individual items like usual. The pay rate was about 20% higher than standard. "They paying extra for a reason?" I asked. Mabel shrugged. "Management says don't ask questions. Just drive. On-time delivery bonus if you make it by 6 a.m. I should have walked away right then. In 23 years of driving, I'd learned that extra money always came with extra problems. But I was behind on rent, and my truck payment was due. Pride's expensive when you're broke. The loading took longer than usual. They had me park in Bay 7, which was around the back of the warehouse, away from the main loading docks. The crew that showed up wasn't our regular guys. These were contractors, quiet, efficient, didn't make small talk. They loaded the trailer and sealed it without letting me inspect the cargo. Another red flag I ignored. Elmer was there that night, doing maintenance on another rig. I walked over to chat while they finished loading. He looked rough, bags under his eyes, hands shaking slightly as he worked. "You okay, Elmer?" I asked. He glanced around nervously before answering. "Yeah, just tired. Been working doubles. Wife's medical bills, you know." I knew about his wife's cancer. The whole terminal knew. The company insurance covered some of it, but not enough. Never enough. "They got you doing anything special on my truck?" I tried to make it sound casual. "Just routine stuff," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Oil change, tire rotation. At 11 at night?" He dropped his wrench, the clang echoing through the garage. When he bent to pick it up, I saw his hands were really shaking now. "Orville," he said quietly, "just do your run. Don't ask questions. Please. Before I could respond, one of the supervisors appeared. Not our regular night supervisor, this was someone from corporate. Suit and tie at 11 p.m. "Everything good here?" the suit asked, looking between us. "All good," Elmer said quickly. "Just finishing up." The suit watched me walk back to my truck. I could feel his eyes on me the whole way. The run that night was smooth. No issues, no weird stops. Nothing unusual except that nervous feeling in my gut. I made the delivery on time, collected my bonus, and headed home. But when I did my post-trip inspection, I noticed something. The odometer didn't match. I was missing about 30 miles. Now, I'm meticulous about my logs. Have to be if you want to avoid DOT violations. I knew exactly how many miles it was from Miami to Jacksonville and back. I'd driven it hundreds of times. Those 30 miles weren't accounted for. I mentioned it to Mabel the next night. "Computer glitch, probably," she said, but she wouldn't look at me when she said it. "I'll make a note." The second run for Sunshine Agricultural was 3 nights later. Same vague manifest, same extra pay, same loading bay in the back. But this time, I was ready. I'd bought a small GPS tracker online, the kind worried parents put in their kids' backpacks. I hid it in the trailer before loading, tucked behind a support beam. That night, the loading crew was different again. Still contractors, still quiet, but I recognized one of them from somewhere. Couldn't place it, but something about his face was familiar. He noticed me watching and turned away quickly. The run went smooth again, made my delivery, got my bonus. But when I checked the GPS tracker later, it showed something interesting. The truck had stopped for 43 minutes at a warehouse in Yeehaw Junction, a place I'd never been during time I was supposedly driving straight through. Someone was taking my truck on detours while I was driving. Sounds impossible, but the evidence was right there. The only explanation that made sense was that there were 2 trucks, mine and a double. Someone was running a parallel route, and the GPS tracker had somehow ended up in the wrong truck. But that seemed even crazier. I started paying more attention after that. Little things I'd overlooked before suddenly seemed significant. The night security guard who always seemed to be watching me. The new cameras installed around the terminal. The way conversations stopped when I walked into the break room. On my 3rd run for Sunshine Agricultural, I tried something different. I kept a detailed log of everything, every mile, every minute, every stop. I even took photos with my phone, timestamps and all. If someone was messing with my truck or my loads, I'd have proof. That was the night I first noticed the sedan. It picked me up just north of Miami, staying about a quarter-mile back. Dark blue, 4-door. Could have been any one of 1,000 cars on Florida highways. But it matched my speed perfectly. When I slowed down, it slowed down. When I changed lanes, it changed lanes. I pulled off at a rest stop near Fort Pierce to see what would happen. The sedan kept going, didn't follow me off. I felt stupid, paranoid. Stayed there for 20 minutes, used the bathroom, bought another coffee. When I got back on the highway, there it was again. Same distance, same lane position. That's when things got really strange. My phone rang. The caller ID showed it was Mabel, but when I answered, it wasn't her voice. "Orville," a man said. "You're asking too many questions. Who is this?" "Someone trying to help. Stop looking into things. Just drive your route, collect your pay, go home." "Where's Mabel?" "She's fine. She doesn't know I'm using her phone. Nobody does. I'm trying to keep you safe, but you need to stop digging." "Safe from what?" The line went dead. When I called back, Mabel answered, sounding normal. Said she hadn't called me. Must have been a crossed wire or something. Technology, right? I wanted to turn around, go back to Miami, confront someone. But who? And say what? that I was being followed by a sedan that might be anyone, that someone had called me from Mabel's phone but she didn't remember. I'd sound insane. So I kept driving, made my delivery. But I also made a decision. This would be my last run for Sunshine Agricultural. Whatever they were into, I wanted no part of it. When I got back to Miami that morning, I went straight to the dispatch office. Mabel wasn't there. Her shift had ended. The day dispatcher, a young guy named Kevin, said she'd called in sick for her next shift. That wasn't like Mabel. She never missed work. I drove to her apartment. Mabel lived in a complex near the airport, one of those places built in the 70s that looked tired even when it was new. Her car was in the parking lot. I knocked on her door for 5 minutes before she finally answered. She looked terrible. Hair a mess, eyes red like she'd been crying. She opened the door just a crack, chain still on. "Orville? What are you doing here?" "Checking on you. Kevin said you called in sick." "I'm fine, just need some time." "Mabel, what's going on? Is someone threatening you?" Her eyes went wide. She looked past me, scanning the parking lot. "You need to leave now." "Not until you tell me what's happening." She stared at me for a long moment, then undid the chain. "Come in, quick." Her apartment was dark, curtains drawn. She led me to the kitchen, put on coffee with shaking hands. "They came to see me last night," she said. "After you left for your run, 2 men. They knew things, Orville, about my daughter in California, about my grandson's school. They said if I didn't cooperate, didn't keep my mouth shut." "About what? What are they moving in those trailers?" "I don't know. I swear I don't. But it's not produce. The real loads get swapped out somewhere. The paperwork gets changed. By the time you deliver, everything looks legitimate. We need to go to the police." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "With what evidence? Besides, one of those men showed me a badge. Said he was federal, that this was part of an investigation, that interfering would be obstruction of justice." "You believed him?" "I don't know what to believe anymore. But I know I'm scared, and you should be too." She was right. I was scared. But I was also angry. I'd been driving honest loads for over 2 decades, and now someone was using me as cover for their criminal operation. My reputation, my license, my life, all of it was on the line. "Who else knows?" I asked. "I think Elmer, maybe a few others. But Orville, you can't fight this. These people, whoever they are, they've thought of everything. Just quit. Walk away." "I can't just quit. I need this job. You need to be alive more." She had a point. But walking away felt like admitting guilt, like I was part of whatever this was. And if they were threatening Mabel, what would they do if I suddenly quit? Would they think I was going to talk? I left Mabel's apartment with more questions than answers. Drove home, trying to think through my options. I could quit and hope they left me alone. I could go to the police and hope they believed me. Or I could keep driving and try to gather enough evidence to protect myself. That's when I remembered the camera, not the one I'd later find in my truck, that was still a week away. This was my dash cam. I'd installed it years ago after a close call with an insurance scammer. It recorded everything, forward and rear views, with GPS coordinates and timestamps. I pulled the memory card and went through the footage from my last 3 runs. Hours of highway, nothing unusual. But then I found it. During my second run, while I was supposedly driving straight through, there was a gap in the recording. 43 minutes of nothing. The exact same time my GPS tracker showed the truck stopping at that warehouse. Someone had tampered with my dash cam. They'd need access to my truck to do that, which meant someone at the terminal was involved. Someone I trusted. I thought about Elmer again. The way his hands shook. The way he couldn't meet my eyes. He'd been doing maintenance on my truck the night before each Sunshine Agricultural run. Perfect opportunity to access the cab. I drove back to the terminal that night. Elmer's shift started at 10. I waited in the parking lot, watching. He showed up at 9:45, but he wasn't alone. A black SUV followed him in, parked near the entrance. 2 men got out, walked him to the garage. They didn't touch him, but the threat was clear in their body language. That's when I understood. Elmer wasn't part of this by choice, just like Mabel, just like me. We were all being used, manipulated, threatened into compliance. The men stayed for about an hour. When they left, I waited another 10 minutes before approaching Elmer. He was under a truck, wrench in hand, but not really working, just going through the motions. "Elmer," I said. He jerked, banging his head on the chassis. Came out rubbing his skull, oil on his face. "Jesus, Orville, you scared me." "We need to talk." "No, we don't, please. Just leave me alone. They threatened your granddaughter." He froze. Tears started rolling down his face, mixing with the oil and grime. "How did you know?" "Lucky guess. What did they make you do to my truck?" He looked around, made sure we were alone. GPS tracker, hidden camera, something with a dash cam, I don't know what exactly. They gave me the devices, told me where to install them. "Who are they?" "I don't know. They just showed up one night, had pictures of Lily at her school, said if I didn't help there'd be an accident. She's only 7, Orville, 7 years old. This can't go on." "You think I don't know that? You think I sleep at night? But what choice do I have?" He was right. What choice did any of us have? They'd found our weak spots and exploited them. Family for Mabel and Elmer. For me, it was simpler. I was already isolated, already vulnerable. No family to threaten, so they'd use me until I became a liability. "There has to be someone we can trust," I said. "FBI, state police, someone." "You don't get it," Elmer said. "That badge Mabel saw, I saw it too. These might be the good guys, Orville, or the bad guys, or both. I don't know anymore." He went back under the truck, conversation over. I stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of it all. Then I walked back to my own rig, climbed in, and sat in the dark. That's when I noticed the red light blinking in the overhead compartment. The camera Elmer had mentioned. It had been there all along, watching me, recording everything. My conversations, my movements, my growing suspicion. I wanted to rip it out, but that would tip them off. Better to pretend I hadn't noticed. Play dumb. Keep driving while I figured out what to do. The next run was scheduled for 3 nights later. Another Sunshine Agricultural Special. I thought about calling in sick, but that might raise suspicions. So I showed up, went through the motions, pretended everything was normal. Mabel was back at dispatch, looking hollow but functional. She handed me the paperwork without meeting my eyes. "Be safe out there," she said quietly. "Always am." As I walked to my truck, I saw the black SUV again, parked across the street, watching, making sure I did my job. The camera in my cab would tell them if I deviated from the route. The GPS would track every mile. I was trapped in a moving prison. But then, something unexpected happened. As I was doing my pre-trip inspection, a man approached. Middle-aged, forgettable face, polo shirt. The same man I'd later meet at the pilot station, though I didn't know that yet. "Nice rig," he said. "Thanks. You're Orville, right? Heard you're one of the best drivers here. Just do my job." He smiled. "That's what we're counting on. Have a safe trip." He walked away before I could respond. Got into a sedan, not the blue one that had been following me, but similar, As he drove off, he gave me a small wave, like we were old friends, like he knew something I didn't. The loading went as usual. Contractors, sealed trailer, no inspection. But this time, I noticed something else. One of the loaders slipped something under my windshield wiper when he thought I wasn't looking. A piece of paper, folded small. I waited until I was on the highway to read it. Just 4 words. Exit 197, 3 a.m. Exit 197 was the pilot station at Fort Drum. 3 a.m. would put me there right on schedule if I maintained normal speed. Someone was planning something. An intercept, maybe. Or a rescue. I had to make a choice. Follow the instructions and trust a stranger. Or ignore it and stay trapped in whatever this was. As I drove north that night, watching that camera blink above my head, feeling the weight of unseen eyes on me, I made my decision. I'd stop at exit 197. Whatever happened, it couldn't be worse than this slow suffocation, this gradual transformation from driver to accomplice. The miles rolled by. The sedan appeared in my mirrors right on schedule, just like before. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. Ready for answers. Ready for confrontation. Ready for whatever came next. When I saw the sign for exit 197, I put on my signal. The sedan followed. Behind it, another set of headlights appeared. The second vehicle, right on cue. They were herding me towards something, but maybe that something was freedom. Or maybe it was just another cage with different bars. Either way, I was about to find out. The silver Toyota handled differently than my rig. After 2 decades of driving 18-wheelers, being in a regular car felt like floating. I kept checking mirrors that weren't there, reaching for gears that didn't exist. My hands wouldn't stop shaking until I crossed the Georgia line. The phone they'd given me stayed silent for the first hour. I'd pulled over twice already, paranoid that someone was following. Each time, nothing but empty highway behind me. The envelope with $20,000 sat in the passenger seat like a lead weight. Blood money, conscience money, shut up and disappear money. I didn't know which. Around 4:30 a.m., the phone finally rang. Unknown number, but I knew who it would be. "You're making good time," the voice said. Same calm tone from before. "How do you know where I am?" "The phone has GPS, don't worry. We're the only ones tracking it. Once you get to Georgia, you can throw it away if you want." "What happens to my truck?" "Right now, it's developing mechanical problems. In about an hour, the driver will pull over, call for roadside assistance. By the time anyone shows up, it'll be abandoned. The cargo will be gone." "The illegal cargo, you mean?" There was a pause. "There never was any illegal cargo in your trailer, Orville. That's the beauty of their system. You were always hauling legitimate produce. But while you were driving your route, an identical truck with illegal cargo was using your paperwork, your identity, your clean record to move through way stations. A shell game." "Exactly. You were the shell that hid the real game. And when things went bad, which they always do eventually, you'd be the one holding the bag." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know. And because we need you to stay gone. If you resurface too soon, it complicates things." "Who's we?" "Better you don't know. Just understand that not everyone in your company wanted this arrangement. Some of us have been working to expose it for months. Tonight was our chance." "What about Mabel, Elmer?" "They'll be questioned when your truck is found abandoned. They'll tell the truth, that you seemed stressed, paranoid, that you'd been asking strange questions. The investigators will assume you were involved in the smuggling operation and ran when it got too hot. So I'm the fall guy after all. No, you're the catalyst. Your disappearance triggers an investigation. The feds were already watching, waiting for something to crack the case open. This is it. And my daughter? We have people watching. She's safe. The company won't risk touching her now. Too much attention. The phone went dead. I threw it out the window somewhere near Valdosta, watched it shatter on the asphalt in my rearview mirror, one less chain binding me to whatever I was leaving behind. But I couldn't stop thinking about that camera in my truck. How long had they been watching? Every private moment, every phone call home, every time I'd broken down crying after the divorce. It was all recorded somewhere, filed away, ready to be used against me. I thought about Mary, my daughter. We hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since the night she'd told me I was a stranger to her, that I'd chosen the road over family. She wasn't wrong. I'd spent her childhood driving, missing birthdays, school plays, graduations. The money was supposed to make up for it, but money can't buy back time. Now I had $20,000 and all the time in the world, but no way to spend it with her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The sun was coming up as I reached the outskirts of Valdosta. The motel reservation was real, a run-down place called the Starlight Inn, the kind that still used actual keys instead of cards. Room 117, paid for 3 nights under the name Tom Franklin. I sat in that room for hours, staring at the water-stained ceiling, trying to process what had happened. In one night, I'd lost my job, my identity, my entire life. But I was alive, and according to the man on the phone, I'd helped expose something corrupt. That had to count for something. The local news that evening mentioned my truck. Abandoned big rig found on I-5, driver missing, FBI investigating possible connection to interstate smuggling ring. They showed my picture, an old CDL photo from 5 years ago. I looked younger, less tired, like someone who still believed in the American dream of honest work for honest pay. For 3 days I stayed in that room, only leaving to get food from the vending machines. The news coverage expanded. They found the second truck, the one that had been doubling my routes. The driver, when caught, started talking immediately. Names, dates, routes. The company's stock plummeted. Federal agents raided the terminal in Miami. They interviewed Mabel on the news. She looked exhausted, but relieved, like a weight had been lifted. She told them about the threats, the surveillance, the fear. She mentioned me, said I was a good driver who'd gotten caught up in something beyond my control. She hoped I was safe, wherever I was. Elmer wasn't interviewed, but the news mentioned him. He'd provided crucial evidence, the devices he'd been forced to install, the dates and times, descriptions of the men who'd threatened his granddaughter. He was being treated as a witness, not a suspect. That was good. Elmer deserved peace. On the 4th day, I left Valdosta. Didn't know where I was going, just drove west. The Toyota ate up miles like my rig used to, but quieter, lonelier. I stopped at truck stops out of habit, parked among the big rigs, listened to the drivers talk. Nobody recognized me. I was just another face in the crowd. Somewhere in Alabama, I bought a prepaid phone and called the number I'd memorized but never used. Mary's number. It rang 4 times before she answered. "Hello?" Her voice hit me like a physical blow. Same as her mother's, but younger, less bitter. "Mary, it's me." Silence. Then, "Dad, what number is this?" "It's complicated. I just wanted you to know I'm okay. The news says you're missing, that you were involved in some smuggling thing. I wasn't. I swear I wasn't, but I can't come back. Not yet. Are you in danger?" "No, not anymore. I wanted to hear your voice, to tell you I'm sorry, for everything." She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, "Mom always said you'd end up running from something. She just thought it would be us." "I did run from you. From responsibility. from being a real father. This is different, but it's also the same. I'm good at leaving, not so good at staying. Where will you go? I don't know. Somewhere I can start over. Maybe do something different, not driving. You love driving. I loved the escape it provided. The excuse to not deal with real life, but real life catches up, one way or another. Dad, be careful. Whatever this is, whatever happened, just be careful. I will. Mary, I know I have no right to ask. But maybe someday, when this is all over, we could try again. Not as the father who left, but as the man who finally stopped running. Maybe, she said, someday. I hung up and cried in that Alabama truck stop parking lot. Big, gasping sobs that I'd held in for years. Truckers walked by, pretended not to notice. Professional courtesy. Everyone breaks down sometimes. I drove for 6 more days, zigzagging across the South, no real destination in mind. The money would last a few months if I was careful. Enough time to figure out what came next. I thought about going to Mexico, starting over completely, but I didn't speak Spanish and I was too old to learn new tricks. Instead, I ended up in a small town in West Texas, one of those places with more cattle than people. Got a job at a local garage, working on cars instead of driving them. The owner, an old veteran named Chuck, didn't ask questions about my past, just cared if I could turn a wrench. I rented a trailer on the edge of town, nothing fancy, but it was mine. No cameras, no surveillance, no one watching. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The news about the smuggling ring dominated headlines for weeks. 23 arrests, including 3 company executives and 2 federal agents who'd been taking bribes. The investigation expanded to other trucking companies, other routes. It was bigger than anyone had imagined. They never found me. After a while, they stopped looking. I was listed as a missing person, possibly deceased, likely a victim of the criminal organization I'd unwittingly served. In a way, they were right. The Orville who'd driven those routes, who'd believed in the company, who'd trusted the system, that man was gone. 6 months passed. I grew a beard, gained some weight, started going by Tom. The locals accepted me as just another drifter who'd decided to stop drifting. I fixed their cars, kept to myself, lived quietly. Then one day, Elmer walked into the garage. I recognized him immediately, even though he looked different. Healthier. The shaking was gone, the nervous energy replaced by something like peace. He recognized me too, despite the beard and the weight. "Thought I might find you here," he said. "How?" "The man who helped you that night. He told me you were safe, that you'd gone west. Took me a while to narrow it down, but there aren't that many small-town garages hiring mechanics with no questions asked." "Why are you here?" "To say thank you, and to tell you it's over. Really over. The company's gone, the bad guys are in prison, and those of us who were caught in the middle, we're free." "What about your granddaughter? Safe? Happy? Doesn't know anything about what happened. That's how I want to keep it." We talked for an hour, maybe 2. He told me about the investigation, the trials, the way everything had unfolded after I disappeared. Mabel had retired, moved to California to be near her daughter. The terminal was closed, the truck sold at auction. A whole world I'd been part of, gone like smoke. "You could come back," Elmer said. "They know you weren't involved. Your record's clean. There's nothing to go back to. Your daughter? Maybe someday, when I'm ready. When she's ready." He left that afternoon, but not before giving me an envelope. Inside was a letter from Mabel. Her handwriting was exactly as I remembered. Precise, careful, like everything she did. "Orville," it read. "I hope this finds you well. I wanted you to know that we all understand why you left. Sometimes disappearing is the only way to survive. But you should also know that you're missed. You were one of the good ones in a business that forgot what that meant. Whatever name you're using now, wherever you are, I hope you found peace. You deserve it. Mabel, I kept that letter, still have it. On bad days when the isolation gets too heavy, when I miss the road and the rhythm of the highway, I read it and remember that I made the right choice. A year later, I saw her again. Mary. She'd tracked me down somehow, probably through Elmer or Mabel. Showed up at the garage one afternoon while I was elbow deep in an engine. "You look different," she said. "Feel different too. Chuck says you're his best mechanic. Says you can diagnose problems just by listening. 23 years of listening to engines teaches you things. Mom died," she said suddenly. 6 months ago, cancer." I put down my tools, wiped my hands. "I'm sorry. She asked about you near the end, said she hoped you'd found what you were looking for out on those roads. I was looking for the wrong things. And now? Now I fix what's broken. Simple work, honest work. No cameras, no surveillance, no one watching." She stayed for 3 days. We talked about everything and nothing. About her job as a nurse, about my life in Texas, about the years we'd lost and couldn't get back. When she left, she hugged me for the first time since she was 12. "I'll visit again," she said. "If that's okay." It's more than okay. She did visit, every few months at first, then more often. We rebuilt something, not a traditional father-daughter relationship, but something real, something ours. 2 years after that night at the pilot station, I got another visitor. The man from the sedan, the one with the forgettable face. He looked exactly the same, like time didn't touch him. "Tom," he said, using my new name. "Or do you prefer Orville?" "Tom's fine. That other man is gone." "Good, that's good. You've built something here. Why are you here?" "To close the loop. To tell you that your testimony, even in absence, helped convict some very bad people. The camera footage from your truck, the GPS data, the patterns you documented, it all mattered." "I never testified." "Your life testified, your clean record against their dirty business. Sometimes that's enough." He handed me a card, plain white, just a phone number. "If you ever need anything," he said, "a favor, a recommendation, whatever, you earned it. I just want to be left alone, and you will be. This is goodbye, Orville, Tom, whoever you are now. Live well." He left, and I never saw him again. Never called the number either. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. It's been 5 years now since that night in Florida. I still work at Chuck's garage, still live in the same trailer. Mary visits regularly, sometimes brings her boyfriend, a good kid who works construction. They're talking about marriage, kids, a future. Sometimes, late at night, I dream about driving. The endless highway, the weight of the trailer behind me, the solitude of the cab. But then I remember that blinking red light, the camera watching everything, and I wake up grateful for my small, anonymous life. The other day, a trucker came through town, needed emergency repair on his rig. While I worked on it, he talked about the industry, how it's changed, how there are cameras everywhere now, in the cab, on the dashboard, even facing the driver to make sure they're not falling asleep. No privacy anymore, he said. Companies watch everything. That must be hard, I said, keeping my voice neutral. You get used to it. Besides, if you're not doing anything wrong, what's there to hide? I wanted to tell him that it's not about having something to hide. It's about the weight of being watched, the way it changes you, makes you perform your own life instead of living it. But I just finished his repair, charged him fair price, sent him on his way. That night, I sat outside my trailer, watching the stars. No cameras, no surveillance, no one tracking my every move. Just me and the vast Texas sky. Free. The money from that envelope is long gone, spent on living, on starting over. But what I gained, the peace, the anonymity, the second chance, that's priceless. Not everyone gets to disappear and rebuild. Not everyone survives their past. I think about Orville sometimes, the man I used to be. 46 years old, divorced, estranged from his daughter, driving endless nights to avoid dealing with his life. He wasn't a bad man, just lost. The camera in his truck wasn't what trapped him. He was already trapped, had been for years. In a strange way, that night at the pilot station freed him, freed me. The men who threatened and manipulated us thought they were in control, but they gave us something precious, a reason to run, to start over, to become someone new. I'm Tom now, 51 years old, mechanic, father to a daughter who visits, friend to a few locals who don't ask questions. It's a smaller life than Orville's, quieter, but it's real. No one's watching. No one's recording. No camera blinks in the darkness above my head. Sometimes that's all freedom is. The absence of eyes upon you, the right to be unobserved, unrecorded, unknown. Orville never had that. Tom does, and that makes all the difference. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, 5 years after I'd become Tom. I was under a Chevy pickup, replacing a transmission line, when Chuck hollered from the office. "Tom, phone for you." I almost didn't answer. The only people who called me at work were parts suppliers and Mary. But something in Chuck's voice made me slide out from under the truck. "Says it's urgent," Chuck added, holding out the receiver. The voice on the other end was familiar but older, rougher. Mabel. "Orville, Tom, I'm sorry to call you like this. I got your number from Elmer." "Mabel, what's wrong?" "It's happening again. Different company, same setup, and this time they're using your name." My blood went cold. I set down my wrench, walked outside where Chuck couldn't hear. "What do you mean, using my name?" "There's a driver in Florida. Goes by Orville Hutchins. Has your old CDL number, your birthday, everything. He's been running routes for 6 months. Miami to Jacksonville. Same route you used to run. That's identity theft. We should call. It's more than that. Remember the man who helped you that night? The one with the forgettable face. He contacted me last week. Said the people who ran the old operation, some of them got out of prison. They're starting over, and they're using your ghost as cover." I sat down on a stack of old tires, mind racing. I'd been Tom for so long, I'd almost forgotten Orville could be resurrected. Why my identity? Because you're perfect. Missing, presumed dead, but never officially declared so. Clean record before you disappeared. They can run drugs for years under your name, and if they get caught, who's going to prosecute a dead man? The FBI must know. The FBI thinks you're dead. Case closed. This new operation, it's smarter, smaller. They learned from their mistakes. What do you want me to do about it? There was a long pause. The man who helped you, he needs you to come back. Not permanently, just long enough to prove you're alive, that someone's stealing your identity. It's the only way to stop them. I can't go back. I have a life here. They know about Mary. Those 4 words changed everything. My hand tightened on the phone. What about Mary? She's safe for now. But if this operation succeeds, if they establish themselves using your name, she becomes leverage. They'll always have that connection to you through her. I thought about my daughter, about the life she'd built, the future she was planning. She didn't deserve to be pulled into this again. "Where?" I asked. "Miami. There's a truck stop off Highway 1, exit 27. Thursday night, midnight, he'll explain everything. Mabel, I'm not Orville anymore. I know. But sometimes the past needs us to be who we were just for a moment, to protect who we've become. She hung up. I stood there in the Texas heat, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of those 5 quiet years suddenly pressing down on me. Chuck found me there an hour later, still holding the dead phone. "Bad news?" he asked. "Old news. Thought it was buried, but it's climbing out of the grave. Need some time off? Maybe a week. Family emergency." Chuck nodded. He never pushed, never asked questions. It's why I'd stayed so long. That night, I sat in my trailer, looking at the few things I'd accumulated as Tom. Not much. Some clothes, some tools, a photo of Mary from her last visit. I'd learned to travel light, to be ready to disappear again if needed. Maybe part of me always knew this day would come. I called Mary from the prepaid phone I kept for emergencies. "Dad, is everything okay? You never call from this number unless I have to go away for a few days, maybe a week." "Go away? Where?" "Florida." A silence, then, "Dad, no. Whatever this is, you don't have to. Someone's using my name, my old name. If I don't stop them, it could come back on you. Let them use it. You're Tom now. Orville's dead. Not legally. And that's the problem. Mary, I need you to be careful for the next week. Maybe stay with your boyfriend's family." "You're scaring me." "Good. Scared keeps you safe. I'll call you when it's over." "Dad, I love you, Mary. Whatever happens, remember that." The drive to Florida took 2 days. I could have flown, but I needed the time to think, to prepare. Also, Tom didn't fly. Tom didn't exist in any system that required ID. Tom was a ghost, and ghosts don't leave paper trails. As I crossed into Florida, the humidity hit like a memory. Nothing had changed. Same thick air, same endless sprawl, same feeling of things rotting just beneath the surface. I'd driven these roads thousands of times as Orville, but now they felt foreign, dangerous. The truck stop at exit 27 was one of those new mega stops. Bright lights, chain restaurants, 100 pumps. Nothing like the old places where shadows had room to breathe. I parked the Toyota in the back, near the truck parking but not among the rigs. Old habits. At 11:45 p.m. I walked to the diner, ordered coffee, picked a booth where I could see the parking lot. The coffee was terrible, but it gave me something to do with my hands. At exactly midnight he walked in. Same forgettable face, same polo shirt, like 5 years hadn't passed. He slid into the booth across from me. "Tom," he said. "Thanks for coming. Let's stick with Tom. Orville's dead. That's the problem. He's very much alive and driving for Sunshine Agricultural Solutions. Same company name. These people aren't creative. They're creatures of habit. Same roots, same methods, same vulnerabilities. And same ending? Me disappearing while you clean up?" He smiled. "No. This time, we need Orville to resurrection himself. Publicly, loudly. Make it impossible for them to use his name. That puts a target on my back. The target's already there. They know you're alive. They've known for months." My coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. "What?" "They've been watching Mary, following her visits to Texas. They know about Tom, about the garage, about your quiet little life. They're letting you exist because you're useful as a ghost. The moment you become inconvenient, you son of a bitch. You knew this and didn't warn me? We only found out last week. That's why Mabel called. That's why you're here. What do you want me to do?" He pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. Inside were photos of a man who looked like me, if I'd kept driving, kept aging in that cab. Same build, similar face, but harder, meaner. He was standing next to a rig with my old company's logo, which shouldn't exist since the company was supposedly defunct. This is Marcus Webb, a small-time criminal who got recruited for his resemblance to you. He's been living as Orville Hutchins, building a reputation as a reliable driver who doesn't ask questions. Where's the real cargo? Same as before. Hidden compartments, secondary manifests. But this time they're moving more than drugs. Weapons. The kind that make federal agencies very nervous. And you want me to what? Confront him? Take my name back? I want you to drive. I laughed. I haven't driven a rig in 5 years. It's like riding a bike. Besides, we don't need you to actually haul anything. We just need you to be seen, logged into the system, captured on way station cameras. Create a paradox, 2 Orville Hutchins in 2 different places at the same time. That's insane. That's the point. It forces an investigation, forces them to figure out which Orville is real. And when they do, the whole operation unravels. What about Mary? We'll protect her. Have been, actually. That boyfriend of hers, he's one of ours. I stood up so fast the coffee spilled. What? Sit down. People are watching. I sat, hands shaking with rage. You've been spying on my daughter? We've been protecting your daughter. Big difference. And before you ask, yes, he genuinely cares for her. That was a happy accident, but his primary job is keeping her safe. She doesn't know? No, and she won't if you help us end this. I wanted to punch him, to walk out, to drive back to Texas and forget all of this, but he was right. The target was already on our backs. Running wouldn't remove it. What exactly do you need me to do? Tomorrow night, Marcus will be picking up a load in Jacksonville, driving to Miami. You'll be picking up a different load in Tampa, driving to Orlando. Both trucks will be logged as Orville Hutchins. Both will hit way stations. Both will be captured on DOT cameras. They'll arrest me. They'll detain you. Question you. Run your prints, your real prints. And when they realize you're the real Orville Hutchins, that someone's been impersonating you, the dominoes start falling. And Marcus will be carrying enough illegal weapons to put him away for 20 years. When he claims to be Orville Hutchins, and you're sitting in an interrogation room in Orlando, they'll know he's lying. Exactly. It was elegant in its simplicity. Use their own con against them. Create confusion where they relied on false clarity. I need guarantees, I said. Mary stays protected. My life in Texas stays untouched. And when this is over, Orville Hutchins gets officially declared dead. Done, done, and done. He pulled out keys, registration, a CDL with my old photo, but current date. Your truck's in Bay 47, loaded and ready. Tampa run leaves at 4 a.m. Just like that? You had this all prepared? We've been preparing for months. We just needed you to agree. I took the keys. They felt heavier than I remembered. One more thing, he said. Elmer's your mechanic on this run. Elmer's here? He volunteered, said he owed you. He's waiting at the truck. I found Elmer in Bay 47, doing a pre-trip inspection on a rig that looked exactly like my old one. Same model, same color, even the same company logo that shouldn't exist anymore. This is surreal, I said. Elmer turned, smiled. He looked good, healthy, clear-eyed. Tom, he said. Or should I say Orville? Let's stick with Tom until I'm in that cab. Fair enough. She's ready to roll. Everything's been triple-checked, even installed a camera in the cab. What? He laughed. Kidding. But I did check for them. Clean as a whistle. We went through the inspection together, like old times. The muscle memory was still there, checking brake lines, tire pressure, fifth wheel connection. My hands knew what to do even if my mind resisted. "You don't have to do this," Elmer said as we finished. "Yeah, I do. They're using my name, threatening my daughter. It ends now." "The man in the polo shirt, do you trust him?" "No, but I trust that our interests align. For now." At 3:45 a.m., I climbed into the cab. The seat felt familiar, the wheel solid in my hands. I adjusted the mirrors, checked the gauges, felt 23 years of experience flooding back. Orville wasn't dead, he'd just been sleeping. The engine turned over smooth. I let it idle, feeling the vibration, the power. Part of me had missed this, the simplicity of it. Point A to point B. No ambiguity, no gray areas, just the road. Elmer knocked on the door. "Manifest is in the folder. Tampa Distribution Center to Orlando. Legitimate cargo, medical supplies. Should take you about 2 hours. What about way stations? You'll hit 2, Brooksville and Wildwood. Both have facial recognition now. Make sure they get a good look at you." "And Marcus? He'll hit different stations about the same time. The system will flag the duplicate entries. Questions will be asked." I nodded, put the truck in gear. Elmer stepped back, gave me a thumbs up. As I pulled out of the bay, I saw the man in the polo shirt standing by the diner, watching. He raised his coffee cup in salute. The highway was empty at 4 a.m. Just me and the occasional car, the rhythm of the road returning like an old song. I'd forgotten how meditative it could be, how the miles could eat away anxiety, leave only focus. The first way station came up faster than expected. The sign flashed, "All trucks must enter." I signaled, slowed, pulled into the lane. The scale system was automated now. No need to stop if you were in compliance. But the cameras were everywhere. Front, side, overhead. They captured everything. I made sure to look directly at the main camera as I rolled through. Let the facial recognition get a perfect shot. The light turned green, weight good, free to go. But I knew that somewhere, a computer was logging this. Orville Hutchins, Florida CDL, heading north on I-75. 20 miles later, my phone rang. Not the prepaid, the smartphone the man had given me. "You just created your first paradox," he said. "Marcus hit the way station on I-95 3 minutes ago. Same name, same CDL number, different location." That was fast. DOT computers don't flag it immediately. Takes about an hour for the system to recognize the impossibility. By then, you'll have hit the second station. What if they stop me before Orlando? They won't. They'll want to see where you're going, what you're carrying. You're not the criminal here, you're the key to exposing them. The second way station was busier. 3 trucks ahead of me, state trooper parked at the exit. My hands started sweating. 5 years of hiding, and here I was deliberately putting myself in the system. The truck ahead cleared. My turn. I pulled forward, stopped on the scale. The trooper looked up from his computer, made eye contact. I nodded, professional courtesy. He nodded back, went back to his screen. Green light, move along. As I pulled back onto the highway, I realized I'd been holding my breath. The old Orville would have been calm, just another day at work. But Tom knew better. Tom knew that cameras were never just cameras, that normal was often performance. Orlando came into view as the sun was rising, painting the city in orange and pink. The distribution center was in an industrial area, surrounded by identical warehouses. I found the receiving dock, backed in smooth. Still had the touch. The dock workers unloaded quickly, efficiently. Normal cargo, normal delivery. Nothing suspicious except the driver's name causing computers across the state to flash warnings. I was signing the paperwork when the first police car arrived. No sirens, no drama, just two officers walking toward me with practiced calm. "Orville Hutchins?" one asked. "That's me. We need you to come with us. Few questions about your documentation." "Is there a problem?" "That's what we're trying to figure out." I went willingly, no resistance, no drama. In the back of the squad car, I texted the number the man had given me. Picked up. The response was immediate. "Marcus in custody, Jacksonville. Showtime." The interrogation room was exactly what you'd expect. Fluorescent lights, metal table, two-way mirror. They left me there for an hour, let me stew. Tom wanted to run. Orville knew to wait. Finally, two detectives entered. One older, heavy, looked tired. One younger, sharp, eager. "Mr. Hutchins," the older one said, "we have a problem." "What kind of a problem?" He set down a tablet, showed me a split screen. Two photos, both supposedly me, taken at different way stations at the exact same time, 200 miles apart. "Care to explain how you can be in two places at once?" "I can't. That's impossible." "That's what we thought. So we ran prints from both scenes." The younger detective leaned forward. "The prints from Jacksonville don't match anyone in our system. But yours," he tapped the table, "yours match Orville Hutchins, CDL issued 2001, reported missing 2018. I've been living in Texas, off the grid, personal reasons. And you just decided to start driving again, today, under your old name?" "I never stopped being Orville Hutchins, just stopped using the name for a while." They exchanged glances. The older detective pulled out another photo. Marcus, in custody, looking angry. "This man claims to be Orville Hutchins, has documentation, employment records, 6 months of driving history. Then he's lying. Why would someone pretend to be you?" I thought about how much to reveal. The man in the polo shirt had said to tell the truth, mostly. 5 years ago, I walked away from a bad situation. A company I worked for was involved in smuggling. I discovered it, got threatened, disappeared for my own safety. If someone's using my name now, it's probably connected to that. The younger detective was taking notes rapidly. "You're saying this is connected to the Sunshine Agricultural case? Same company name, same routes, you tell me. Mr. Hutchins, are you willing to testify to your identity? Take a polygraph? Whatever you need." They kept me for 6 hours. Fingerprints, photographs, detailed statement. By the time they were done, Marcus had been caught with enough weapons to arm a small militia. His prints came back as Marcus Webb, wanted in 3 states. The fake Orville was exposed, but more importantly, the investigation exploded outward. The new Sunshine Agricultural, the routes, the other drivers, all of it unraveled because 2 men couldn't be in 2 places at once. They released me at sunset with a warning not to leave the state. I walked out to find the man in the polo shirt waiting with my Toyota. "Well played," he said. "Is it over?" "This part is. Marcus is talking, names are being named, arrests are being made. And my name? Will be cleared, officially. We'll also process the death certificate you wanted. Orville Hutchins died in a trucking accident in 2018. Body never recovered. So I'm dead again. Free to be Tom permanently. What about Mary's boyfriend? We'll propose next month. Genuinely. His protective duties ended the moment Marcus was arrested. If you're lying, I'm not. Go home, Tom. Go back to your garage, your quiet life. You've earned it." I took the keys, started walking to my car, then turned back. "The cameras," I said. "They're everywhere now. In trucks, on highways, in our pockets. How do we stay free when everyone's watching?" He smiled that forgettable smile. "You don't stay free by hiding from cameras. You stay free by being so boring they stop watching. Be Tom. Fix cars. Live quietly. The cameras will move on to more interesting subjects. And if they don't, then we'll have this conversation again. But I don't think we will. I drove back to Texas that night, 12 hours straight, windows down, radio off. Just the sound of the road, the rhythm of the miles. At the state line, I pulled over, took out the CDL with Orville's name, and tore it into pieces. Let them blow away in the wind. Tom drove the rest of the way home. Chuck didn't ask questions when I showed up for work 3 days later. Just handed me a work order, pointed at a Ford that needed a new alternator. I got to work, hands steady, mind clear. That afternoon, Mary called. "Dad, you okay? You sound different." "I'm good, really good. How's everything with you?" "Actually, I have news. David proposed. We're getting married." I smiled, genuine for the first time in days. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. He's a lucky man. Will you walk me down the aisle?" "If you'll have me." "Of course, Dad." "Yeah." "Whatever you did in Florida, whatever that was about, thank you. I don't need to know details. I just need to know you're home safe." "I'm home, and I'm staying." That night, I sat outside my trailer. No lights except the stars. Somewhere, cameras were recording, databases were updating, algorithms were analyzing. But not here. Not Tom fixing cars in a small Texas town. I thought about Elmer, probably back home with his granddaughter. About Mabel in California, finally at peace. About Marcus in federal custody, the real criminals being rounded up. But mostly, I thought about nothing. Just sat in the quiet, no one watching, no red lights blinking in the darkness above. Free. The camera in Orville's truck had started it all. The fear of being watched, of being exposed, of losing control. But the real prison had been the life I'd built around that fear. Running loads I didn't want to run. For people I didn't trust. Because I didn't know how to stop. It took being forced to disappear to learn how to truly exist. It took losing Orville to find Tom. And it took facing the cameras one last time to realize they only had power if you had something to hide. Now I had nothing to hide. Tom was clean, boring, invisible. The perfect ghost in the machine age. 6 months later, at Mary's wedding, I walked her down the aisle in a rented suit that didn't quite fit right. David, I never asked if that was his real name, shook my hand firmly, met my eyes without flinching. Whatever he'd been before, he was Mary's husband now. That was enough. During the reception, I stepped outside for air. Found Mabel there, older but elegant in a blue dress. "Tom," she said, "you look well. You too. California suits you." I heard Orville Hutchins was officially declared dead last month. I heard that too. Sad story. Good driver, wrong place, wrong time. Yes, but Tom seems to be doing well. Mary says he's the best mechanic in West Texas. She exaggerates. We stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Finally, she said, "Do you miss it, the road?" I thought about it, the honest answer. I miss the simplicity, the clarity, but not the loneliness, not the running. And the cameras, they're still there, everywhere. But I don't see them anymore, or maybe they don't see me. She smiled, invisible in plain sight. Something like that. We went back inside, danced at my daughter's wedding, smiled for the photographer's camera without flinching, let the moments be captured, stored, shared, because Tom had nothing to hide. The drive back to Texas was quiet. No radio, no phone, just the hum of the engine and the whisper of tires on asphalt. I passed dozens of big rigs, each with their cameras, their monitors, their digital eyes. But they weren't watching for Tom. They were watching for the next Orville, the next driver who stumbled into something bigger than himself. I hoped they'd be luckier than I was. Or maybe lucky wasn't the right word. Maybe they'd be smarter, see the signs earlier, get out before the cameras started blinking in the dark. But probably not. The road has a way of hypnotizing you, making you think you're free when you're really just moving in circles. It takes something dramatic to break the pattern. For me, it was a camera I didn't install, watching me for reasons I didn't understand. Now I install cameras for other people. Security systems for the local businesses, dash cams for worried parents, backup cameras for trucks. Each time I wonder what they're really looking for. Safety, control, or just the illusion that watching everything makes it manageable. But I don't ask. I just install them, take my payment, go home to my camera-free trailer. Because Tom knows something Orville never learned. The best place to hide isn't in the shadows. It's in the boring, mundane light of day, where cameras point but don't really see. The hidden camera that started everything is probably in an evidence locker somewhere, its red light long dead. But its real power was never in what it recorded. It was in what it revealed. That being watched changes you. That privacy is precious. And that sometimes the only way to be free is to let your old self die and walk away. Orville Hutchins is dead. The cameras confirmed it. Tom is alive, invisible, free. And that red light? It never blinks for him. The smell hit me first. Sweet, chemical, wrong. Like rotting fruit mixed with diesel exhaust and something else I couldn't place. It was 3 a.m, August 2023, and I was standing at the back of my trailer at a way station just outside of Gainesville, Florida. My name's Clarence. Been driving trucks for 31 years, and in all that time, I'd never smelled anything like this coming from a refrigerated load of supposed strawberries. I'd picked up the load 6 hours earlier in Plant City, the strawberry capital of Florida. Standard run to Atlanta, nothing special about it except the pay was better than usual and the loading crew had been weird about letting me inspect the cargo. Bertha, the loading supervisor, had practically pushed me away from the trailer when I tried to check the pallets. "Everything's fine, Clarence," she'd said, sweat dripping down her face despite the cool night air. "Just fresh strawberries, packed and ready. You don't want to break the cold seal." I'd been in this business too long to argue with dispatchers and supervisors. You pick up, you deliver, you get paid, don't ask questions. But that smell was making me nervous. Refrigerated units sometimes leak coolant, but this wasn't that. This was something organic, something that shouldn't be in my trailer. The weigh station was supposed to be closed, but the lights were on for the automated system. I'd only stopped because my engine temperature gauge had been climbing, probably just the Florida humidity playing hell with my cooling system. But once I stopped, that smell got stronger. I walked around to the back of the trailer, put my hand on the door handle. The metal was cold, which was good, meant the refrigeration unit was working. But there was something else. A vibration I could feel through the door that didn't match the steady hum of the cooling system. Every instinct told me not to open that door. In trucking, plausible deniability is your best friend. You don't know what's in the sealed trailer. You're just the driver. But that smell was getting stronger, and now I could hear something too. A scratching sound, like fingernails on metal. I backed away from the door, walked to my cab, grabbed my flashlight and my phone, started recording video, just in case. If something was wrong with the load, I wanted proof that I didn't know about it when I picked it up. The seal on the trailer door was intact, a standard metal band with a numbered tag. I took a photo of it, then used my bolt cutters to snap it. The moment the seal broke, the smell intensified. Sweet, sick, chemical. My eyes started watering. I pulled the door open just a crack, shined my flashlight inside. The front pallets looked normal. Cardboard boxes labeled with a strawberry logo, plastic wrapped, sitting on wooden pallets. But there was liquid on the floor, dark in the flashlight beam, running from somewhere deeper in the trailer. I pulled the door open wider, climbed up into the trailer. The cold hit me immediately, dropping the sweat on my skin to ice. The temperature gauge read 34 degrees, just above freezing, perfect for strawberries. But strawberries don't bleed. The liquid was coming from the third row of pallets. As I got closer, the scratching sound got louder. I pushed aside a hanging plastic curtain meant to maintain temperature zones, and that's when I saw them. The middle pallets had been hollowed out. The boxes were just a shell, a facade. Behind them was a makeshift compartment, and inside that compartment were 3 large black duffel bags. One of them was moving. My hands were shaking as I reached for the zipper on the moving bag. Part of me already knew what I was going to find, but I had to see. Had to know what they'd put in my trailer. Inside the bag was a dog. Pit bull, maybe 60 pounds, barely breathing. Its eyes were glazed, foam around its mouth, body twitching with whatever drug they'd given it to keep it quiet. There were tubes running into its stomach, sealed with surgical tape. Drug mules use people. Apparently, someone had decided dogs were less risky. I checked the other bags. 2 more dogs, same condition. One was already dead, body stiff. The third was barely hanging on, whimpering so quietly I almost couldn't hear it over the refrigeration unit. My first thought was to call 911, but then I remembered where I was. Alone at a closed way station at 3 a.m. with a trailer full of drug-smuggling dogs and hollowed-out cargo. How would that look? They'd arrest me first, ask questions later, and whoever set this up would have plenty of time to disappear while I sat in county lockup. I took more video, making sure to get clear shots of everything. The intact seal I'd just cut, the fake strawberry boxes, the dogs, the surgical modifications. Then I carefully closed everything up, went back to my cab, and called the only person I trusted. Horace picked up on the 5th ring, voice thick with sleep. He'd been my supervisor at my first trucking job 20 years ago, taught me everything about the business. Now he ran his own small operation out of Ocala, staying clean while the industry got dirtier around him. "Clarence, it's 3 a.m, man." "Horace, I got a problem, a big problem." His voice sharpened immediately. "Where are you?" "Way station outside Gainesville, northbound on 75. "You broke down?" "No. Someone tampered with my load, put something in it, something bad." "How bad?" "Federal prison, bad." There was a long pause. I could hear him getting out of bed, his wife asking what was wrong. "Don't touch anything," yet he said. "Don't call anyone else. I'm on my way." "Horace?" There's animals involved. Dying animals." "Jesus Christ. Okay. Give me 40 minutes. Don't move. Don't call anyone. And whatever you do, don't let anyone else near that trailer." After I hung up, I sat in the dark cab, watching the mirrors for any sign of movement. The dogs were drug mules, that much was clear. But this was more than just smuggling. This was organized, professional. Someone had surgical skills. Someone had access to my pickup location, my route, my trailer. Someone had paid off Bertha to keep me from inspecting the load. 20 minutes passed, then 30. A car pulled into the way station. Not Horace, too early. It was a dark sedan, no lights, creeping slowly toward my truck. I locked the doors, grabbed the tire iron I kept behind the seat. The sedan stopped about 50 feet away. Nobody got out. We sat there, them watching me watching them. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "You opened the trailer." I didn't respond. Another text. "That was a mistake." Then another. "Walk away now. Leave the truck. We'll handle it." I typed back, "Can't. DOT will track me. We'll handle DOT. Walk away or become part of the problem." The sedan's engine was still running. I could see exhaust in the humid air. They were waiting for my decision, but I'd already made it when I called Horace. I wasn't walking away from this. I texted back, "I already called state police. They're en route." It was a lie, but it worked. The sedan's reverse lights came on. They backed out fast, tires squealing as they hit the highway. I got a partial plate. Florida tags starting with X4. Not much, but something. 15 minutes later, Horace arrived in his old pickup. He parked next to my cab, climbed up to the passenger door. I let him in. "Show me," he said. I led him to the back of the trailer, showed him everything. He took his own photos, his face getting grimmer with each shot. "You know what this is?" he asked. "Dogs turned into drug mules. More than that. This is a cartel operation. Professional. They use animals because they're harder to detect than human mules. Dogs don't sweat, don't get nervous at checkpoints. How do you know that?" He gave me a look. "I've been in this business 40 years. I've seen everything. Lost friends to stuff like this. Good drivers who got caught up in bad loads." We went back to the cab. Horace pulled out a burner phone, dialed a number from memory. "Yeah, it's me," he said to whoever answered. "I need that favor, now. Gainesville Way Station, northbound 75. No, not me, a friend. Yeah, that kind of problem." He hung up, turned to me. "Help's coming. Not police, but people who can handle this right." "Who?" "DEA. But not the official kind, the kind that doesn't want paperwork." That doesn't sound legal. Legal got complicated when they put dying dogs full of heroin in your trailer. This is about survival now. We waited another 30 minutes. Then 2 SUVs pulled in, dark colors, tinted windows. 4 people got out, 2 men, 2 women, all wearing civilian clothes but moving like law enforcement. The lead woman approached, badge on her belt but not displayed. "Horace," she said, "been a while. Agent Martinez, thanks for coming." She looked at me. "You're the driver?" "Yes, ma'am." "Tell me everything. From the beginning." I told her about the pickup, about Bertha's nervousness, about the smell and the discovery. She listened without interrupting, one of her partners recording everything on a phone. "Show us," she said when I finished. We went through the whole thing again. This time, they used special equipment. Cameras, chemical sensors, evidence bags. One of them, a younger guy with medical training, checked the surviving dogs. "One's definitely dead," he said. "One might make it if we get it to a vet now. The third, 50-50. Martinez made a decision. "We're taking the dogs. The drugs stay in the trailer." "What?" I couldn't believe it. "We need the drugs to stay in play. If they disappear, everyone scatters. But the dogs we can save." They loaded the bags with the dogs into one of their SUVs. The guy with medical training went with them, presumably to a vet somewhere. That left Martinez and 2 others. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "You're going to continue your run. Deliver to Atlanta as planned. Act like nothing happened." "Are you insane? They know I opened the trailer." "They suspect. They don't know. That sedan was probably surveillance, not enforcement. If they knew for sure, you'd be dead already. That was comforting. The drugs are still in the dogs. We removed what we could without killing them immediately. About 2 kilos. The rest we replaced with lactose powder. Similar weight, similar appearance if anyone checks casually. And when I get to Atlanta, we'll be watching every mile. When they come for the drugs, and they will, we'll be ready. You're using me as bait. We're using you as an opportunity. This is bigger than one load, Clarence. This is a whole network. We've been trying to crack it for 2 years. Horace stepped in. Clarence, these are good people. They'll keep you safe. Like they kept those dogs safe? Martinez's face hardened. Those dogs were dead the moment they were cut open. We're trying to save the next ones, and the next driver who might not be as lucky as you. She had a point. If I hadn't stopped for engine trouble, if I hadn't smelled that smell, I would have delivered the load none the wiser. Until the DEA kicked in my door 6 months later with conspiracy charges. What about Bertha, the loading supervisor? We'll handle her after this is over. Right now, she needs to think everything's normal. They gave me a burner phone, programmed with one number. Any problem, anything suspicious, you call. We'll be no more than 2 minutes away the entire trip. What about my regular phone? Keep it on. Keep it normal. If they call, answer. If they text, respond. You know nothing about dogs or drugs. You're just a driver doing his job. They left first, disappearing into the pre-dawn darkness. Horace stayed a bit longer. You could walk away, he said. Park the truck, disappear. They'd understand. No. Whoever did this, whoever put those dogs in my trailer, they need to be stopped. This isn't your fight. It became my fight when they involved me. He nodded, clapped me on the shoulder. Call me when you get to Atlanta. Let me know you're safe. After he left, I sat in my cab for another hour, waiting for sunrise, trying to process everything. 3 dogs turned into drug mules. At least 1 dead, maybe 2 by now. Also, someone could move a few kilos of heroin without risk to human carriers. The sun came up slow, painting the Florida sky orange and pink. Normal cars started passing on the highway, the world waking up, oblivious to what was in my trailer. I started the engine, pulled back onto I-75. The phone they'd given me buzzed once. Text message. Silver Honda, 3 cars back, we're here. I spotted them in my mirror. Keeping pace, not too close, not too far. Guardian angels in an unmarked car. It should have made me feel safer. Instead, it reminded me that I was now bait in a trap I didn't fully understand. The miles rolled by. Gainesville to Ocala. Ocala to Wildwood. Every truck stop, every exit, I expected someone to come for the drugs. But nothing happened. Just normal traffic, normal road, normal day, hiding an absolutely abnormal situation. My regular phone rang as I passed the Valdosta exit. Unknown number, but I answered like Martinez had told me. Yeah? Clarence? Female voice, not one I recognized. This is Bertha from Plant City Loading. My hands tightened on the wheel. Hey Bertha, what's up? Just checking on the load. Everything running smooth? Yeah, all good. Refrigeration holding steady at 34. Good, good. Any problems at all? Anything unusual? She was fishing, trying to figure out if I knew. Nope. Just another milk run to Atlanta. Great. The receiver might want to inspect the load personally, that normal for them. Don't be surprised if they're very thorough. Translation. They were going to check for the drugs. No problem. Loads exactly as you gave it to me. Perfect. Drive safe, Clarence. She hung up. I immediately called the burner phone. They know, I said when Martinez answered. Bertha just called. Warned me about a thorough inspection in Atlanta. Expected? How far out are you? 3 hours, maybe 4 with traffic. Take your time. We need to get people in position. What if they try to take it before Atlanta? Hit me on the road? They won't. Too risky in daylight. They'll wait for the delivery point where they have control. I wasn't convinced, but what choice did I have? I was committed now, rolling north with a trailer full of fake drugs and real problems. The Georgia state line came and went. The landscape changed from Florida flat to Georgia hills. Pine trees got thicker, towns got smaller. Every mile took me deeper into something I didn't understand and further from any chance of walking away. 2 hours from Atlanta, my phone rang again. Different, unknown number. Clarence, this is Jim from Atlanta Receiving. I'd never heard of a Jim at Atlanta Receiving. Hey, Jim. Slight change of plans. Instead of coming to the main warehouse, we need you to deliver to our overflow facility. Address is 22847 Industrial Boulevard, Doraville. Know where that is? I can find it. Great. Come to the back loading dock. We'll have a crew ready to unload immediately. Copy that. I hung up and immediately called Martinez. They're redirecting me. Overflow facility in Doraville. Address? I gave it to her, could hear her typing. Abandoned warehouse district. Perfect for what they're planning. Okay, this is good. Gives us room to operate. Good for who? Trust me, Clarence, we've got this. But sitting in that cab alone except for the invisible watchers, heading toward an abandoned warehouse where people expected to find drugs that weren't there, I didn't feel like anyone had anything under control. Doraville came up on the GPS. Old industrial area, the kind that used to thrive before manufacturing went overseas. Empty buildings, broken windows, grass growing through parking lot cracks. The perfect place to make a driver disappear if things went wrong. 2847. Industrial Boulevard was at the end of a dead-end street. Chain-link fence topped with old razor wire, half falling down. The building itself was massive, probably an old distribution center, most windows boarded up. Only one section looked active. Lights on, a few cars parked outside. I pulled up to the gate. It was already open, which felt wrong. Places like this always had security, even if it was just for show. But the gate was wide open, inviting me in. The loading dock was around back, just like Jim had said. 3 men were waiting, all wearing work clothes that looked too new, too clean. They watched me back in, faces expressionless. I set the brakes, climbed out slow. The biggest of the 3 approached. Clarence? That's me. Jim sent us. We'll get you unloaded quick. But they didn't move toward the trailer immediately. They were waiting for something. Or someone. A door opened in the building. 2 more people came out. One was a woman I didn't recognize, wearing a business suit that belonged in a downtown office, not an abandoned warehouse. The other was Bertha. She looked different than she had at the Plant City facility. Harder. Less nervous. Like she'd dropped a mask she didn't need anymore. "Hello, Clarence," she said. "We need to talk about what you found in the trailer." My phone, the burner, was in my pocket. I could feel it. Wanted to hit the call button, but any movement might set them off. "I don't know what you're talking about." Bertha smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "The seal was broken, Clarence. We know you looked. The question is, what did you do after you looked? The seal was intact when I picked up. Must have broken in transit." The woman in the suit pulled out a tablet, showed me a photo. It was grainy, taken from a distance, but it clearly showed me at the way station with the trailer door open. "We had someone watching," she said, "just in case. So let's stop pretending and discuss how this is going to go." I was surrounded, outnumbered, and they knew I'd found their drugs, or what they thought were their drugs. Where the hell was Martinez and her team? What do you want? I asked. First, we want to know if you took anything from the trailer, removed anything, called anyone. I saw some weird stuff, got scared, closed it back up. That's it. Bertha stepped closer. Clarence, you're a good driver. Clean record. We picked you specifically because you don't cause problems. Don't start now. I don't want any trouble. Neither do we. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to unload the special cargo. You're going to forget you ever saw anything. You'll deliver the legitimate strawberries to the actual Atlanta facility tomorrow morning. Everyone goes home happy. And if I don't forget... The woman in the suit pulled back her jacket slightly, revealing a holstered pistol. Then you become another missing trucker. Happens all the time. Especially ones going through divorce, behind on payments, struggling with depression. How did they know about my divorce? My finances? These people had done their homework. Okay, I said. Take your stuff. I don't want any part of it. Bertha nodded to the three men. They moved toward the trailer. I held my breath, knowing they were about to find lactose powder instead of heroin. Dead dogs, or maybe no dogs at all if Martinez's team had removed them completely. The first man climbed into the trailer. I heard him moving pallets, pushing aside boxes. Then silence. Then, "We got a problem." Bertha's face changed, went from confident to concerned. What kind of problem? The man emerged holding one of the black duffel bags. It was covered in blood, empty, torn open. The cargo's gone, and there's blood everywhere. That's when I realized Martinez hadn't just removed the dogs. She'd staged a scene, made it look like something had gone very wrong in that trailer. Bertha turned on me, face twisted with rage. "What did you do?" "Nothing. I told you, I just looked." The woman in the suit drew her pistol. "Where are the dogs?" "Dogs? What dogs? I'm hauling strawberries." But my confusion must have seemed too real, because doubt crept into Bertha's eyes. She grabbed the tablet, made a call. "We have a situation," she said to whoever answered. "The cargo's been compromised. No, not stolen. Destroyed or escaped. There's blood everywhere. Yes, sir. Understood." She hung up, looked at the woman in the suit. "He's coming." Whoever he was, everyone seemed afraid of him. The three workers backed away from the trailer. The woman in the suit checked her pistol nervously. "You," Bertha pointed at me. "You're staying until he gets here." That's when the cavalry arrived. The sound came first. Engines, multiple vehicles approaching fast. Then lights, bright xenon beams cutting through the dusk. Not police lights, not yet, but the aggressive high beams of SUVs moving with purpose. Martinez and her team had arrived, but not the way I expected. They came in loud and obvious, three black SUVs roaring through the open gate, spreading out to block any exit. Doors flew open and agents poured out, weapons drawn but not aimed, badges now prominently displayed. It was theater, but effective theater. "Federal agents! Nobody move!" Bertha's hand went to her waistband but stopped when three laser sights appeared on her chest. The woman in the suit dropped her pistol, hands rising slowly. The three workers hit the ground without being asked, apparently experienced in this kind of situation. Martinez walked through the chaos like she owned it, which I guess she did. She looked different than she had at the way station. Harder, official, dangerous. "Bertha Crenshaw," she said, voice carrying across the lot. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to traffic controlled substances, animal cruelty, and about 15 other charges we'll figure out later." "I want a lawyer," Bertha said immediately. "You'll get one, after we have a conversation about your employer." That's when another vehicle arrived, a white van, unmarked but somehow more ominous than the SUVs. It pulled up next to my truck and two people in hazmat suits got out. They climbed into my trailer with equipment I didn't recognize, started taking samples of the blood, photographing everything. Martinez walked over to me. "You okay?" "Define okay." "Fair point. You did good, Clarence. Stayed calm, played it smart. What happens now?" "Now, we process this scene, arrest these people and try to flip them before their boss realizes what happened." "The one they called? The one they're afraid of?" Her expression darkened. "Yeah, him. We've been trying to identify him for 3 years. He runs the whole network, Miami to Atlanta, probably beyond. Never shows his face, always works through intermediaries like Bertha. Will he come here? Doubt it. He's too smart for that. But he'll send someone, and when he does," she smiled coldly, "we'll be ready." One of her agents approached, whispered something in her ear. Her expression changed from confident to concerned. "What do you mean, empty?" she said, loud enough for me to hear. The agent gestured toward the trailer. "The blood's real, canine for sure, but there's no drug residue, none, like the dogs were cut open but never filled." Martinez looked at me sharply. "Tell me again what you saw." I went through it again. The 3 dogs, the surgical modifications, the tubes. She listened, frowning deeper with each detail. "And you're sure they were carrying, the dogs were mules?" I assumed. Why else would someone do that to them?" She turned to her team. "Sweep everything again. I want every inch of that trailer processed." While they worked, I stood there trying to make sense of it. Dogs cut open, but not carrying drugs. An elaborate smuggling operation with nothing to smuggle. It didn't add up. My phone, my real phone, rang. Unknown number. "Answer it," Martinez said. "Speaker." I did. "Hello? Clarence." Male voice, calm, educated, with just a hint of southern accent. "I understand there's been some confusion about your cargo." Martinez was gesturing frantically, mouthing, "Keep him talking." "Who is this?" I asked. "Someone who's trying to resolve this situation peacefully. I believe federal agents are currently at your location." How did he know that already? "Yeah, they're here." "Good. Please hand your phone to Agent Martinez. Tell her Mr. White would like to speak with her." I looked at Martinez. Her face had gone pale. She took the phone with a steady hand that didn't match her expression. "This is Martinez. Agent Martinez." The voice was amused now. "You've been very persistent. 3 years of chasing shadows, and here we are. If you're calling to negotiate, I'm calling to inform you that you've made a mistake. Check the trailer again. Check what's really there. We did. Empty dogs, lot of blood, no drugs. Exactly, no drugs. Which means no crime, wouldn't you agree? Some disturbed individual mutilated animals and put them in a trailer. Horrible, yes. Federal crime, hardly. Animal cruelty across state lines is federal jurisdiction. If you can prove intent, if you can prove conspiracy, if you can prove anything beyond a single incident of animal abuse, can you?" Martinez was quiet. I could see her mind working, recognizing the trap. "The dogs were modified to carry drugs," she said finally. "Were they? Or were they modified by someone with a sick fetish? Mental illness? Personal vendetta? You have no drugs, Agent Martinez. You have dead dogs and assumptions. We have Bertha. She'll talk." "Bertha who?" "The loading supervisor who reported suspicious activity in a trailer and called authorities. Check her phone. Check her recent calls. I think you'll find she contacted your tip line about an hour ago." Martinez grabbed Bertha's phone from another agent, scrolled through it. Her face darkened further. "You son of a bitch." Language, Agent Martinez. I'm simply pointing out that your case isn't what you thought. Bertha discovered something terrible, reported it, and you arrived to investigate. Everyone's doing their job. No conspiracy here. The drivers you've been using, what drivers? I'm not familiar with any drivers. If someone's been committing crimes, I hope you catch them. But I don't see how that involves my client. Your client? Ms. Crenshaw. I'm her attorney. She called me when federal agents arrived at her workplace without a warrant. Martinez looked ready to throw the phone. We don't need a warrant. Exigent circumstances. Dead dogs are exigent. Interesting legal theory. We'll explore it in court. In the meantime, I suggest you release my client unless you have actual evidence of an actual crime. The line went dead. Martinez stood there holding my phone, face twisted with frustration. He played us, she said quietly. The whole thing was a setup. I don't understand, I said. The dogs were never supposed to carry drugs. They were bait. To draw us out, see how we respond, identify our methods. And we fell for it. But why? Because now he knows our playbook. Knows we were watching. Knows we have someone inside. The real shipment is probably moving right now while we're standing here with our thumbs up our... Her phone rang. She answered, listened, went even paler. When? How many? God damn it. She hung up, looked at her team. 3 of our surveillance teams just went dark. Miami, Orlando, Tampa. All at the same time. The white van techs had finished processing my trailer. One approached Martinez with a tablet. Ma'am, you need to see this. On the screen was a chemical analysis. I didn't understand most of it, but one thing stood out. A molecular diagram labeled synthetic marker. Law enforcement tracking compound. The blood was tagged, the tech explained, with our own tracking compound, the kind we use to mark drug shipments. That's impossible. That compound is classified. Not anymore, apparently. Martinez turned to me. They knew. The whole time, they knew we were watching. They wanted us to find the dogs, to replace the drugs, to follow you here. This whole thing was a test, Bertha said. She was sitting on the ground in handcuffs, but smiling. Mr. White wanted to see how you operate, how quickly you respond, what resources you have, and you showed him everything. Shut up, Martinez snapped. You can't hold me, Bertha continued. No drugs, no crime. Just a concerned supervisor who found mutilated animals and called authorities. Check my phone, it's all there. Martinez knew she was right. I could see it in her face. Without drugs, without proof of conspiracy, they had nothing. Animal cruelty at best, and even that would be hard to prosecute without knowing who actually did it. Cut her loose, Martinez said finally. Ma'am, one of her agents looked shocked. Cut them all loose. We've got nothing. As they removed the handcuffs, Bertha walked over to me. Mr. White wants you to know this was nothing personal, Clarence. You were just convenient, the right driver, at the right time, with the right reputation. What reputation? Honest. Trustworthy. The kind who would open a suspicious trailer and call for help. The kind the feds would believe. She walked away, the others following. Within minutes, they were gone, leaving just me, Martinez's team, and a trailer full of questions. What do I do now? I asked Martinez. You deliver your strawberries to the real facility in Atlanta. Go home. Forget this happened. That's it? That's it. We lost this round. He's probably moving the real shipment as we speak, and we're blind because he took out our surveillance. So he wins? Today he wins. Tomorrow we try again. She started to walk away, then turned back. Clarence, you need to be careful. You're on his radar now. If anything strange happens, anything at all, you call me." She handed me a card with just a number, no name. "What about Horace? Is he in danger?" "We'll watch him. Watch you too for a while. But honestly, I don't think White will bother with you again. You served your purpose." They left me there with my truck and my legitimate load of strawberries that had been cover for an elaborate game I didn't understand. I climbed back into my cab, started the engine, and drove to the actual Atlanta distribution center. The receiver there was a normal guy named Phil, who I'd dealt with before. He checked the load, signed the paperwork, never mentioned anything unusual. As far as he knew, it was just another delivery. I drove home that night back to Florida, mind churning over everything that had happened. The dogs, the drugs that weren't there, Mr. White's voice on the phone. I'd been a pawn in someone else's game, and I didn't even understand the rules. 3 weeks later, I was doing a regular run from Jacksonville to Savannah when my phone rang. Horace. "Clarence, you see the news?" "What news?" "DEA bust in Miami. Biggest drug seizure in Florida history. 40 million worth of heroin." "Okay." "They're saying it was hidden in a shipment of strawberries." My blood went cold. "When?" "Same night as your thing. While you were in that warehouse in Atlanta, another truck was delivering the real load to the real buyers. So I was a distraction, you and those poor dogs. While the feds were focused on you, the real shipment walked right past them." I pulled over, needed a moment to process this. The elaborate setup, the fake drugs, the dogs, all of it just to keep the DEA busy for a few hours. "They ever figure out who Mr. White is?" I asked. "No, but Clarence, there's something else. Bertha Crenshaw was found dead yesterday." "What? How?" "Suicide, supposedly, pills. But here's the thing, she left a note confessing to everything. The dog thing, the drug shipment, all of it. Claimed she acted alone." "That's bullshit." "Of course it is. But it ties everything up neat and clean. Case closed, no loose ends." Except for me. I was a loose end. That night I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about those dogs. About Bertha. About Mr. White's calm voice on the phone. I'd survived. But I'd also been marked, identified, cataloged. I was in their system now, for better or worse. A month passed, then 2. Life returned to normal. Loads to haul, bills to pay, the endless rhythm of the road. I started to think maybe it really was over. Then I got a package. No return address, no delivery service markings. Just a plain brown box left on my doorstep. Inside was $20,000 cash and a note. Compensation for your inconvenience. Mr. White appreciates professionals who know when to stay quiet. I should have taken it to the police, to Martinez, to someone, but I didn't. I paid off my truck, caught up on bills, put the rest in savings. Blood money, maybe, but money nonetheless. 6 months later, I was at a truck stop near Valdosta when I saw her. Bertha Crenshaw. Very much alive, buying coffee at the counter. Different hair, different clothes, but definitely her. She saw me see her. For a moment, we just stared at each other across the truck stop. Then she smiled, raised her coffee cup in a mock toast, and walked out. By the time I got outside, she was gone. No trace of which vehicle she'd gotten into. I called Martinez immediately. "Bertha's alive. I just saw her." "That's impossible. I saw the body myself." "Then you saw wrong. She's alive and in Georgia." There was a long pause. "Clarence, where exactly are you?" "Truck, stop off I-75, exit 18. "Stay there. Don't move. I'm sending someone." But I didn't stay. Something in her voice was wrong. Too eager, maybe. Or too worried. I got in my truck and drove, took back roads, avoided scales and inspection points. That night, parked behind an abandoned gas station, I finally understood. Martinez hadn't been trying to catch Mr. White. She'd been working for him. The whole DEA operation had been cover for moving drugs, not stopping them. And I'd been useful to both sides, a convincing distraction for the real agents and a test for the corrupt ones. I thought about going to the FBI, the state police, someone, but with what proof? A story about dead dogs that were never found. A recording of a phone call that probably no longer existed. Cash that would make me look guilty rather than victimized. So I did the only thing I could do. I kept driving, changed companies, changed routes, avoided Florida for a while. But the road has a way of bringing you back to places you're trying to avoid. A year later, I was back on I-75, hauling legitimate cargo, when I stopped at the same way station where it all started. 3 a.m, same as before. The smell hit me as soon as I opened my door. Sweet, chemical, wrong. But this time it wasn't coming from my trailer. It was coming from the truck parked next to me. I could see the driver in his cab, slumped over the wheel. Young guy, maybe 25. I knocked on his door. No response. I called 911, reported a driver in distress. While waiting, I walked around his truck. The trailer doors were sealed, but I could hear something inside. Scratching. Whimpering. The ambulance arrived first, then the police. The driver was alive but unconscious, drugged, they said. When they cut the seal on his trailer, they found exactly what I expected. Hollowed out cargo hiding black bags. But this time the dogs were still alive, still carrying, still salvageable. The cops took my statement, thanked me for calling it in. As I was leaving, one of them mentioned something that chilled me. "Lucky you found him. This is the 3rd one this month. Same setup every time. Someone's moving product using drivers who don't even know they're carrying." What happens to the drivers? Usually, they wake up at their delivery point with no memory of the trip. Drugs in their system make their testimony worthless. Perfect crime, really. Perfect crime. Except now I understood the pattern. Mr. White hadn't stopped. He'd refined his method. No more conscious drivers who might look in their trailers. Just unconscious pawns who couldn't testify about what they didn't remember. I wanted to tell the cop everything. Warn him about Mr. White, about the network, about how deep this went. But I knew how that would sound. Conspiracy theorist trucker rambling about shadowy criminal masterminds. They'd either think I was crazy or worse, involved. So I kept my mouth shut and drove away. But I started keeping notes, documenting every suspicious truck I saw, every drugged driver found, every load of strawberries that smelled wrong, building a case file that might matter someday. Martinez called me once more, 6 months after the way station incident. "Clarence, we need to talk." "No, we don't. You don't understand. Things have changed. Mr. White is..." I hung up. Changed my number the next day. Whatever game she was playing, I wanted no part of it. But the road keeps bringing you back. That's the thing about driving trucks. You cover the same ground over and over, see the same places, meet the same people. Eventually, your past catches up. It was another August night, 2 years after the original incident, when I found myself back in Plant City. Different company, different cargo, but the same industrial area where it all started. I was fueling up when a familiar face appeared at the pump behind me. Horace. But not the Horace I remembered. This one was thinner, older, worn down. "Clarence, been looking for you. I've been around, just not here. We need to talk. About that night, about what really happened. I know what happened. I was there." "No, you don't, not all of it." He looked around nervously. "They're still watching you, still tracking every load you haul." "Who?" Mr. White? There is no Mr. White. Never was. It's a collective, a network. Different people playing the same role, using the same name. The voice you heard could have been anyone with a voice modulator. How do you know this? Because I've been investigating. Ever since that night. Following the money, the shipments, the patterns. And I think I know how to stop them. But I need your help. I should have said no. Should have gotten in my truck and driven away. But Horace had saved me that night. Brought help when I needed it. I owed him. What kind of help? One more run, one more load. But this time, we control it. He explained his plan. It was insane, dangerous, probably illegal. But it might work. Use their own methods against them. Create another distraction, but this time to expose them, not hide them. You're asking me to risk everything, I said. I'm asking you to help me end this. These people destroyed my business, Clarence. After I helped you, they blacklisted me. No one will hire my drivers. No one will use my trucks. I'm bankrupt, living in my sister's garage. I'm sorry, Horace, I didn't know. Not your fault, but we can make it right, both of us. I thought about all the drugged drivers, all the dead dogs, all the drugs flowing through Florida hidden behind legitimate cargo. Thought about Mr. White's smug voice, Martinez's betrayal, Bertha's fake death. Okay, I said. Tell me what you need. The plan was simple in concept, complex in execution. I would pick up a load that Horace had identified as suspicious. Agricultural products from a new customer paying premium rates for quick delivery. Classic white network indicators. But this time we'd be ready. Hidden cameras in the trailer, GPS trackers on everything, and most importantly, a parallel truck running the same route with the same manifest. If they tried their shell game, we'd have proof. The pickup was scheduled for the following Friday night. Plant City again, because apparently the universe has a sense of humor. But not the same facility. This one was newer, supposedly cleaner. I arrived at midnight, paperwork in hand. The loading crew was different, but their behavior was familiar. Too efficient, too quiet, too careful to keep me away from the cargo. Just wait in the office, the supervisor said. Not Bertha, she was still dead, but a man with the same nervous energy. We'll handle everything. I waited, watching through the window as they loaded boxes labeled tropical fruit mix. The same sweet chemical smell was there, faint but unmistakable. They were using the same methods, probably the same drugs, definitely the same arrogance. When they finished, I did my walk around, pretending not to notice the extra seal on the trailer doors, the kind that would alert someone if it was broken. They wanted to know if I looked inside. Fine, let them know. I drove out of Plant City, right on schedule, heading north on I-75. The hidden cameras Horace had installed were recording everything, uploading to cloud storage in real time. If anything happened to me or the truck, there would be evidence. 20 miles out, I noticed the tail. Dark sedan, hanging back but matching my speed. They were watching, making sure I didn't deviate from the road. I maintained steady speed, played the part of the oblivious driver. The first way station was closed, which was expected. They always seemed to know which ones would be operating. The second was open but waved me through. My weight was within limits, no reason to stop. It was near Gainesville when things went sideways. Same stretch of road where I'd found the dogs 2 years ago. My engine started losing power, RPMs dropping, speed declining. I hadn't touched anything, hadn't done anything wrong, but suddenly my truck was dying. I pulled over, hazards on, and waited. The sedan pulled over too, staying back but visible. Within minutes, another truck arrived. Same model as mine, same color, even the same company logo. The shell game was starting. The driver approached my cab. Young guy, nervous, sweating despite the cool night. "Engine trouble?" he asked. "Seems like it." "Dispatch sent me. I'm supposed to take your load, deliver it on time. You wait here for the mechanic." "That's not protocol." "Emergency protocol. Check your phone." I did. There was a message from a dispatcher I didn't recognize, authorizing the transfer. Official looking, but I knew it was fake. This was the switch, my legitimate load for their drug-filled one. "All right," I said, playing along. "Let me grab my paperwork." I climbed down, walked to the back of my trailer. The kid followed, eager to get this done. That's when I saw the other vehicles arriving. 2 vans, another sedan. Too many people for a simple load transfer. "Problem?" the kid asked. "No problem." But there was. Because one of the van drivers was Bertha, still alive, still working, still part of the network. She saw me recognize her and smiled. "Hello, Clarence. Funny how the road brings people back together. You're supposed to be dead." Death is surprisingly liberating. Amazing what you can do when you don't exist. The others had formed a loose circle. Not threatening exactly, but definitely controlling. I was outnumbered and outsmarted, again. "Here's what's going to happen," Bertha said. "We're taking your trailer. You're going to report it stolen. Insurance covers the loss. You get a few days off. Everyone's happy. And if I don't, then you become another tragic statistic. Trucker killed in hijacking. Happens more than you'd think." I looked around, counting faces, memorizing details. The cameras in the trailer were getting all of this, but only if they hadn't found them. Only if Horace's plan was working. "Take it," I said. "I don't want any trouble. Smart man, always were." They hooked my trailer to the other truck professionally quick. The kid climbed into the cab, started pulling away. The others began returning to their vehicles. That's when the state police arrived. Not state police, that became clear immediately. These vehicles had the look, but not the details. The light bars were aftermarket. The insignias slightly off, the officers stepping out wearing uniforms that would pass at a glance but not under scrutiny. But Bertha and her crew didn't know that. They scattered like roaches when you flip on a kitchen light. The kid in my truck panicked, tried to jackknife the trailer getting back on the highway. Lost control completely, ended up sideways across both lanes. The fake cops surrounded him before he could run. Bertha made it to her van, but found the tires flat. Horace had thought of everything. The man who approached me wore sergeant stripes and a name tag reading Williams, but I recognized him from somewhere else entirely. He was one of Horace's old drivers, a guy named Tony who'd been laid off when the business went under. "You okay, Clarence?" he asked, loud enough for everyone to hear, then quieter. "Play along. We've got about 10 minutes before real cops show up." "What are you doing?" "Horace's plan B. When you didn't check in at the last waypoint, we knew they'd made their move." The other officers were efficiently zip-tying Bertha's crew, reading rights they had no authority to read, going through the motions of an arrest that wasn't real but looked convincing on camera. And there were cameras everywhere, dash cams, body cams Horace had somehow acquired, even a drone hovering overhead getting aerial footage. "This is kidnapping," Bertha shouted. "You're not real cops." "Ma'am, please remain calm," Tony said in his best cop voice. "We're conducting a federal investigation." It was insane. A fake police stop to interrupt a real crime, all being recorded for evidence that might or might not be admissible in court. But it was working. The criminals thought they were being arrested by corrupt cops, probably figured Mr. White had double-crossed them. Tony walked me away from the scene toward one of the fake police cars. Horace is in the command van, quarter mile up. He wants to talk to you. This is crazy. When real cops show, we'll be gone, but the evidence won't. Every second of this is being streamed to 12 different servers. Even if they destroy the local copies, it's already out there. The command van was an old RV painted to look official. Inside, Horace sat surrounded by monitors, radio equipment, and computers. He looked better than he had at the gas station, energized, focused, alive with purpose. "Clarence, good to see you in one piece." "Horace, what the hell is this?" "Justice. The kind you don't get in courtrooms." He pointed to one of the monitors showing Bertha being questioned by Tony. She's already talking, trying to make a deal. Doesn't know the cops are fake, spilling everything to save herself. This won't hold up in court. Doesn't need to. Once this video goes viral, once the media picks it up, real investigations will follow. Public pressure is more powerful than any prosecutor. On another monitor, I could see inside my trailer through the hidden cameras. The fake cops had opened it, revealing not just the expected drug packages but something else. Crates of weapons. Military grade, the kind that weren't supposed to be in civilian hands. "Jesus," I whispered. "Gets better," Horace said, switching to another feed. "That parallel truck I mentioned? It's been following your route exactly, and guess what it's carrying?" The screen showed the interior of another trailer. Bodies. At least 6 people, bound and gagged but alive, barely. Human trafficking on top of drugs and guns. "We need to call real cops now," I said. "Already did. Anonymous tip from a burner phone. They'll be here in Untum." He checked his watch. 6 minutes. My people will be gone in 4. And Bertha's crew will be found zip-tied by the roadside with a trailer full of evidence. The fake arrest becomes a citizen's arrest. All perfectly legal, if ethically gray. What about me? You're a hero. Brave trucker who stumbled onto a criminal enterprise and helped expose it. Your cameras, your evidence, your courage. I didn't agree to be a hero. No, but you agreed to help. This is help. The monitors showed Tony's team loading back into their fake police cars. They left Bertha and her crew secured but not hurt, sitting on the shoulder, looking confused and angry. The kid who tried to steal my truck was crying, probably realizing how deep he was in. 3 minutes, Horace said. "We need to go. What about my truck?" "Stay with it. Real cops arrive, you tell them the truth, mostly. Your load was being hijacked. Some good Samaritans intervened, held them until police could arrive. You don't know who the good Samaritans were. They'll know I'm lying. They'll suspect, but the evidence will matter more than the methods. Those weapons, those people in the other truck, that's Homeland Security level crime. They won't care much about procedural irregularities." He started packing up his equipment, efficient despite the time pressure. "There's one more thing, Clarence. The real load, the one you picked up, it's not drugs." "What?" "Check your bills of lading again. Really check them. The serial numbers, the weights, the destinations." He handed me a folder before pushing me out of the van. "Real cops in 90 seconds. Get back to your truck. And Clarence, after tonight, disappear for a while. Take a vacation. Visit family. Just don't be in Florida." The RV pulled away, leaving me standing on the shoulder with a folder and more questions than answers. I ran back to my truck, climbed into the cab just as the first real police car crested the hill, lights and sirens blaring. What followed was 6 hours of questioning, evidence processing, and controlled chaos. The cops found everything. The drugs, the weapons, the people in the parallel truck who turned out to be kidnapped migrants being sold into slavery. Bertha tried to claim she'd been illegally detained, but the video evidence was overwhelming. Her own words, captured in high definition, confessing to years of criminal activity. The detective questioning me was thorough but not suspicious. My story held up because it was mostly true. I'd been hauling legitimate cargo when criminals tried to hijack it. Citizens had intervened. I didn't know who they were, but was grateful. "Hell of a coincidence," the detective said. "These good Samaritans just happening to be here. Lucky, I guess. Very lucky. Especially since this connects to 3 other ongoing investigations. This Bertha woman, she's been on our radar, but we could never prove anything. And now? Now we have her on video, admitting to murder, drug trafficking, human trafficking, weapons smuggling. She's looking at life without parole. What about Mr. White?" The detective's expression changed. "How do you know that name?" I told him about the phone call 2 years ago, about Martinez, about everything I'd kept quiet. He listened, took notes, made calls. By dawn, I was talking to federal agents, real ones this time. The lead agent was a woman named Director Sarah, based out of Atlanta. She flew in specifically for this case. "Mr. Clarence, what you've described matches patterns we've been tracking for 5 years. This Mr. White network is something we've been trying to penetrate without success. Agent Martinez is missing, has been for 6 months. We suspect she was either killed or turned. Your information suggests the latter. So you knew about the corruption. We suspected, but suspicion isn't evidence. What happened tonight, what your friend Horace orchestrated, it's given us more actionable intelligence than 5 years of official investigation. Is he in trouble? For the fake cops thing?" She smiled slightly. "What fake cops? I see citizens performing a legal citizen's arrest of criminals caught in the act. The fact that they wore costumes while doing it is unusual, but not illegal. That's a generous interpretation. Mr. Clarence, those weapons in your trailer, they were headed for a domestic terrorist cell. Those people in the other truck? They would have died in forced labor camps. Your friend might have bent some rules, but he saved lives." She had me go through everything again, this time with a recorder and a stenographer. Every detail about Mr. White, about the network, about the patterns I'd observed. It took hours, but I could feel things clicking into place for them, filling gaps in their investigation. When we finally finished, Director Chen handed me a card. "You're going to be a key witness in multiple federal cases. We'll provide protection if needed." Am I in danger? Honestly, yes. The Mr. White network won't appreciate what happened tonight. But we're going to hit them hard and fast now. Use the momentum from tonight's arrests. The safer you can stay for the next 72 hours, the better. I took Horace's advice. After getting my truck released from evidence, I drove straight to my sister's place in North Carolina. Didn't tell anyone where I was going, turned off my phone, paid cash for everything. The news exploded 2 days later. Massive multi-state crime ring exposed by heroic trucker. My name was supposed to be kept confidential, but it leaked within hours. Suddenly, I was getting calls from reporters, book agents, movie producers. I didn't answer any of them. Horace called from a burner phone on day 3. "You see the news? Hard to miss it. 47 arrests so far, including 3 state senators and a federal judge. This thing was huge, Clarence. What about Mr. White? Still a ghost, but his network is destroyed. That's something. Where are you? Better you don't know, but I wanted to thank you for trusting me, for going along with the insanity. Did you know about the weapons and the people? Suspected the weapons. The people were a surprise. Makes it all worth it, though, doesn't it? It did. Despite the danger, despite the chaos, knowing those people were safe made everything worth it. What are you going to do now? I asked. Disappear for real this time, maybe overseas. You? I don't know. Can't really go back to normal trucking after this. Why not? It's what you're good at. Every load I'd haul, I'd wonder what's really in it. Every supervisor, every dispatcher, I'd wonder if they're another Bertha. That's not paranoia, Clarence, that's wisdom. We said goodbye, knowing we'd likely never speak again. Horace had his revenge and his redemption. I had my unwanted fame and a target on my back. A week later, I was back in Florida for the first round of depositions. The prosecutor, a sharp young attorney named Michael Foster, walked me through my testimony. It would be months before the actual trials, but they needed to lock down witness statements while memories were fresh. The defense will try to paint you as a vigilante, he warned, working with Horace to entrap their clients. I was just trying to survive. I know, but they'll twist everything. The fake cops especially. They'll claim it was all staged to frame innocent people. Innocent people don't traffic humans. No, but guilty people hire excellent lawyers. The deposition was brutal. Bertha's attorney, a snake in a $1,000 suit, questioned every detail, implied I was working with law enforcement from the beginning, suggested the whole thing was an elaborate setup for reward money. There's no reward money, I said. Not officially. But a book deal? Movie rights? You stand to profit significantly from this story. I haven't taken any deals. Yet. It went on like that for hours. By the end, I felt dirty, like I was the criminal. That's when I understood why so many witnesses back out, why cases fall apart. The system protects itself, and sometimes that means protecting the criminals who can afford to work it. But I didn't back out. Every time I wanted to quit, I thought about those people in the truck, the ones who would have died if we hadn't intervened. I thought about the dogs from 2 years ago, cut open and left to suffer. I thought about all the drivers who didn't know they were hauling death. Director Chen called the night after the deposition. You did well today. Felt like I was on trial. That's what they want you to feel. Don't let them win. Any progress on finding Mr. White? Actually, yes. Your testimony about the voice modulator was key. We've been analyzing all recorded calls from burner phones in the relevant time frame. We found something interesting. What? The modulator had a signature, a specific pattern. We've matched it to 12 different calls over 3 years. Always different numbers, different locations, but the same electronic signature. So you can track him. We can track the device, and we did. It was purchased from a specialty electronics shop in Miami, paid for with a credit card. Whose card? That's where it gets interesting. The card belonged to a company called White Logistics Inc. Incorporated in Delaware, but the registered agent is a law firm in Miami. The same firm representing Bertha? No, but there are connections. Shell companies within shell companies, but we're unraveling it. How long? Weeks, maybe months. But we're closer than we've ever been. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about the name. White Logistics. So obvious it was almost insulting. Mr. White had been hiding in plain sight, probably laughing at everyone looking for shadows when he was standing in the spotlight. 3 days later, I was hauling a legitimate load from Orlando to Jacksonville. Needed the money, needed the normalcy. When I noticed the tail, not subtle this time. Black SUV, riding close, wanting me to know they were there. I called 911, reported an aggressive driver. The dispatcher said they'd send a unit. The SUV backed off, but didn't disappear. They were sending a message. We know where you are. At the next rest stop, I found a note under my windshield wiper. You cost us money. Money must be repaid. With interest. No signature, but I knew who it was from. The network might be broken, but Mr. White was still out there, still watching, still angry. I called Director Chen immediately. They're threatening me. Where are you? I told her. State police are en route. We're also sending a federal protection team. Can you keep moving until they intercept? Yeah, do it. And Clarence, after today, we're putting you in protective custody. No arguments. I wanted to argue, but the SUV was back, closer now. This wasn't random intimidation. This was escalation. The state police caught up first, 2 units that boxed in the SUV and forced it to pull over. I watched in my mirrors as they drew guns, ordered the occupants out. 2 men, both in suits, both with their hands up looking confused. Director Chen called back an hour later. Lawyers, she said, disgust clear in her voice. What? The men in the SUV. They're lawyers from the firm representing several defendants. They claim they were trying to serve you with civil papers. Bullshit. Of course it is. But we can't prove otherwise. They had legal documents in the car. Their story checks out technically. So they can threaten me and call it legal service. Welcome to the gray area of witness intimidation. The protection team met me in Jacksonville. 3 agents who would rotate shifts, keeping me safe. It felt like prison, but at least I was breathing. That night, in a safe house that looked like every other suburban home, I finally opened the folder Horace had given me. The bills of lading he'd told me to really examine. At first, they looked normal. Standard shipping documents for agricultural products. But the serial numbers were wrong. Too many digits. Wrong format for the supposed originating company. And the weights were off by exactly 10% on every item. I cross-referenced with photos I'd taken of other shipments over the years, a habit I'd developed after the first incident. The pattern was there, hidden in plain sight. Every Mr. White shipment had the same discrepancies, the same 10% weight variance, the same serial number format. It was a code, a way for people in the network to identify which shipments were legitimate and which were covers. Simple, elegant, invisible, unless you knew what to look for. I called Director Chen. I found something, a pattern in the paperwork. I explained what I'd discovered. She had me send photos of everything, said their analysts would review immediately. Clarence, if this checks out, you've just given us a way to identify every shipment they've ever made. We can trace this back years. Horace knew. That's why he gave me the folder. Where is Horace now? Gone. Really gone this time. We need to find him. He might have more evidence. He won't be found unless he wants to be. But I was wrong. They found Horace 3 days later. Not the feds, Mr. White's people. His body was discovered in a burned-out truck stop in Alabama. The official cause was a heart attack, but the timing was too convenient. Horace had given us the key to unraveling everything, and he'd paid for it. I wanted to go to his funeral, but the protection team wouldn't allow it. Too dangerous, too exposed. So I watched from a safe house as the news reported on the tragic death of a whistleblower. They didn't even get his story right, called him a disgruntled former employer seeking revenge. Nothing about his courage, his brilliance, his sacrifice. That's when I decided to take the book deal. Not for the money, though I wouldn't turn it down, but to tell the real story. Horace's story. The story of all the drivers caught up in something bigger than themselves. The writer they paired me with was a former investigative journalist named Patricia Wong. She spent 3 days interviewing me, recording everything. She was thorough, asking about details I'd forgotten, connections I hadn't made. The public thinks trucking is simple, she said during a break. Point A to point B. They have no idea about the shadow economy running parallel to legitimate shipping. Most truckers don't either, we just drive. But you noticed, you acted, that's rare. I got lucky. If I hadn't smelled those dogs, it wasn't luck, it was experience and instinct. You knew something was wrong and you investigated. Most people would have ignored it. Most people wouldn't have wanted the trouble. Exactly. That's what the criminals count on, the path of least resistance. She was right. The whole network had been built on the assumption that drivers would stay quiet, that loading supervisors would look the other way, that everyone would choose the easy path over the right one. A month into protective custody, Director Chen visited with news. We arrested him. Mr. White? His real name is Marcus Whitman, former DEA, went private 15 years ago, built the whole network using his knowledge of law enforcement procedures. Former DEA? That's how he knew our methods, our weaknesses. He'd been one of us. Is Martinez involved? We still don't know. She's still missing, might be dead, might be in hiding. Without her, we can't prove the connection. So he might walk? Not this time. Your evidence, the patterns you found, they're solid. We've documented over 300 shipments, 50 million in drugs and weapons. He's looking at life. What about the others? Bertha? She made a deal. Testimony for reduced sentence. 25 years instead of life. That's still something. She'll be 60 when she gets out, if she survives. Word is, the cartels aren't happy about her cooperation. Justice, such as it was. Not perfect, not complete, but something. The trial started 6 months later. I testified for 3 days, walking through every detail, every incident, every piece of evidence. Marcus Whitman sat at the defense table, looking nothing like I'd imagined. He was small, ordinary, the kind of man you'd pass on the street without noticing. But his eyes were cold, calculating, never leaving my face. His defense was predictable. Frame job, entrapment, overzealous prosecution. But the evidence was overwhelming. The coded shipments, the recorded confessions, the weapons and drugs and people all traced back to his network. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Guilty on all counts. Life without parole. As they led him out, Whitman looked at me one last time, mouthed 2 words. Not over. Director Chen said it was just bravado, the last gasp of a beaten man. But I knew better. Networks like his don't die with one arrest. They adapt, evolve, find new leaders. The road would always have predators, and drivers would always be prey. I went back to trucking eventually. Different company, different routes, but the same basic job. Hauling freight from here to there, keeping the economy moving one load at a time. But now I check every bill of lading, inspect every load, document everything. And sometimes, late at night at a quiet truck stop, I think about Horace. About his fake cops and real courage. About how he saved those people in the trafficking truck, even if it cost him everything. The book came out a year after the trial. Dead Dog Miles, a trucker's journey through America's shadow network. It made the bestseller list, got optioned for a movie. I donated half the proceeds to a fund for trafficking victims, the other half to Horace's sister. But money doesn't change what happened. Doesn't bring back the dogs or Horace. Doesn't erase the image of those people in the truck, bound and gagged and heading for slavery. Patricia Wong called last week. She's working on a follow-up, says there's more to the story. Martinez surfaced in Mexico, wants to talk. Claims she was undercover the whole time, that her disappearance was witness protection gone wrong. Do you believe her? Patricia asked. I don't know what to believe anymore. Will you talk to her? Maybe, if it helps put more of them away. Or if it just helps you understand. That too. Because that's the thing about driving trucks. You have a lot of time to think. And I still think about that night at the way station. About the choice to open that trailer door. Such a small decision that changed everything. The smell is gone now. That sweet, chemical, wrong smell that started it all. But sometimes I catch a whiff of something similar. Overripe fruit, cleaning chemicals, diesel exhaust. And I'm right back there, flashlight in hand, about to discover what someone tried to hide. The road goes on. Trucks keep rolling. Most carrying exactly what they claim, but some hiding secrets in sealed trailers. And drivers like me, we keep watching, keep checking, keep remembering that sometimes the most dangerous cargo isn't what's listed on the manifest. It's what's hidden behind it. Last month I was training a new driver, kid named Marcus. Different Marcus, weird coincidence. 22 years old, eager, thinks trucking is freedom and adventure. We were doing a night run from Tampa to Atlanta when he asked about the news story about my involvement in the Mr. White case. Is it true, all of it? Every word. Would you do it again, knowing what would happen? I thought about Horace, dead in Alabama, about months in protective custody, about looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life. Yeah, I said, I would. Why? Because someone has to. Because if we all just drive and don't ask questions, they win. The criminals, the traffickers, the ones who see trucks as tools for evil. Someone has to stand up. Even if it costs everything? Especially then. That's when standing up matters most. He was quiet for a while, processing that. Then, teach me what to look for. The signs, the patterns. So I did. Passed on what I'd learned, what Horace had taught me, what 2 years of investigation had revealed. How to spot suspicious loads, nervous supervisors, shipments that don't add up. How to document everything, who to call, when to walk away, and when to stand firm. But be careful, I warned. Once you start seeing it, you can't unsee it. The shadow network, the crimes hiding in plain sight. It changes you. Changed you for the better? Just changed. Better or worse doesn't really apply. I'm alive, I helped save people, I put criminals away. But I also lost my peace of mind, my anonymity, my friend. You calculate the cost yourself. We delivered that load without incident. Normal cargo to a normal warehouse with normal paperwork. The kid seemed almost disappointed. They're not all adventures, I told him. Mostly it's just driving. But when the moment comes, when you smell something wrong or see something suspicious, that's when you decide what kind of driver you're going to be. What kind are you? The kind who opens the trailer door. He nodded, understanding. Maybe he'd never face what I faced. Maybe he'd drive for 40 years without encountering anything more dangerous than bad weather and aggressive four-wheelers. Or maybe tomorrow he'd smell that sweet chemical wrong smell and have to make a choice. Either way, he'd be ready. Because that's what we owe to Horace. To those people in the trafficking truck. To every driver who's been used without knowing it. We owe them vigilance, we owe them courage. We owe them the willingness to open the door and face whatever's hidden inside. The road stretches on, endless and full of possibilities both legitimate and criminal. I drive it with eyes wide open now, knowing that every load could be the one. Every shipment could hide secrets. Every mile could lead to another choice between easy silence and difficult truth. And somewhere out there, in boardrooms and warehouses, in truck stops and loading docks, the next network is forming. New criminals with new methods, new codes, new ways to exploit the system. They think they're smart, think they're invisible, think drivers are just tools to be used. They're wrong. We're watching now. We know the signs. We've learned the patterns. And when we smell something wrong, we open the door. The call came at 3 a.m, exactly 2 years after Marcus Whitman's conviction. I was sleeping in my truck at a rest stop outside Ocala, between runs, when the phone started buzzing. Director Chen's number, which was never good news at this hour. "Clarence?" Where are you exactly?" Her voice had that controlled panic I'd learned to recognize. Something bad had happened and I was somehow involved. "Rest stop, mile marker 341 on I-75. What's wrong?" "Whitman's dead." I sat up, instantly awake. "When? How?" "3 hours ago. Prison riot, supposedly. But Clarence, before he died, he made a phone call. To a burner phone we've been tracking. And the phone's GPS shows it at your location. Right now." My blood went cold. I looked around the dark cab, then out at the dimly lit rest stop. A dozen trucks parked, could be anyone. "I'm getting out of here." "No, stay put. We have units converging. Whoever has that phone wanted you to know they're watching. If you run, we lose them." "So I'm bait again?" "You're protected. Just sit tight." I locked my doors, grabbed the tire iron I still kept behind the seat, and waited. Through my mirrors, I could see the other trucks, silent and dark. Any one of them could be harboring Whitman's contact. Or maybe it wasn't a trucker at all. Maybe someone in a car, in the woods, in the rest stop building itself. 20 minutes felt like hours. Then I saw the lights. State police, FBI, a whole convoy screaming into the rest stop. They surrounded every vehicle, including mine. An agent I didn't recognize approached my door. "Mr. Clarence, Agent Thompson, we need you to come with us while we search." I climbed down, let them escort me to a command vehicle. Director Chen was on a screen inside, coordinating remotely from Atlanta. "We've narrowed the phone to a 50-foot radius," she said. "It's definitely here." They searched for 2 hours. Every truck, every car, every trash can. Finally, a young agent came running with an evidence bag. Inside was a cheap burner phone, duct-taped under a picnic table. "It's been here for hours," the agent said. "Maybe days. Timer activated to turn on at a specific time." "So, they're not here," I said. "No," Chen admitted, "but they wanted us to think they were. Clarence, there's something else. We found a message on the phone, audio recording." She played it. The voice was digitally altered, but the cadence was familiar. The same measured tone as the original Mr. White calls. "Hello, Clarence. If you're hearing this, Marcus is dead and you think you're safe. You're not. The network didn't die with him. It evolved. Every trucker you've trained, every pattern you've shared, every warning you've given. We've been listening, learning, adapting. The shadow network you exposed was version 1. Version 2 is already operational, and this time we know your playbook. Sleep well, hero. You've got more loads to haul." The recording ended. Everyone in the command vehicle was silent. "Empty threat," Thompson said finally. "Whitman's dead, his network's dismantled. This is just someone trying to scare you." But Chen looked worried. "Clarence, has anything unusual happened recently? Any suspicious loads, weird encounters?" I thought about it. There had been something, a week ago. A dispatcher I didn't recognize, offering premium rates for a rush job to Miami. I turned it down, bad feeling in my gut. "Maybe," I said, and told them about it. Chen had someone pull the records immediately. The dispatcher didn't exist, at least not officially. The company he'd claimed to represent had no record of the call. "They're testing you," she said, "seeing if you'll bite. Or warning me that they can reach me any time." The next few weeks were tense. Every load I hauled felt suspicious. Every new face at a truck stop seemed like surveillance. The FBI increased their monitoring, but what could they really do? I couldn't live in protective custody forever. I had to work, had to drive, had to exist in the same world where this new network was supposedly operating. Then Marcus, my trainee, not Whitman, called with something interesting. "Clarence, remember those patterns you taught me? I think I found something." We met at a diner in Valdosta. He had a notebook full of observations, photos of bills of lading, delivery schedules. "Look at this," he said, spreading papers across the table. "Same weight discrepancies you taught me to watch for, but inverse. Instead of 10% over, they're 10% under. Could be clerical errors. On 17 different shipments, all from different companies but going to the same 3 warehouses." I studied his documentation. He was right. There was a pattern, but it was subtle, sophisticated. Almost like someone had taken what I'd taught him and refined it. "Who else knows about this?" "Just you." I wanted to check before reporting it. "Good instinct. Let me make some calls." I contacted Chen, sent her Marcus's findings. She had their analysts review everything. 2 days later, she called back. "Your protege might have uncovered something significant. These shipments correspond with upticks in drug activity in those delivery areas. So, version 2 is real? Appears so, but smarter, more careful. They're moving smaller quantities, using legitimate companies as unwitting covers, staying below DEA radar." "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing. We'll handle it." But I couldn't do nothing. This was my fault, in a way. By exposing the original network's methods, I'd given the criminals a blueprint for what not to do. They'd learned from Whitman's mistakes, adapted, evolved. I started my own investigation, quietly, carefully. Using my connections in the trucking world, I mapped out the suspicious routes Marcus had identified. The pattern was elegant. Never the same company twice in a row, always legitimate cargo with just a small addition. Drivers who never knew they were carrying anything extra. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Patricia Wong, the journalist who'd written my book, called with a strange question. "Clarence, did you ever meet someone named Maria Santos during the original investigation?" "No. Why?" "I'm researching the follow-up book, interviewing peripheral figures. Maria Santos was listed as a witness in one of the sealed depositions, but she doesn't seem to exist. No records, no history, like she appeared just for the trial then vanished. Could be witness protection." That's what I thought. But I had a friend check. No Maria Santos in any protected witness database. So who was she? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But Clarence, here's the interesting part. Her deposition mentions specific shipping routes and methods that were never made public. Things only someone inside the network would know. Or someone in law enforcement. Exactly. I think Maria Santos was Martinez. I think she testified under an alias. My mind raced. If Martinez had testified, if she was alive and cooperating, why hadn't Chen told me? Unless... Patricia, be very careful. If you're right, if Martinez is alive and hidden, there's a reason for it. I'm always careful, but Clarence, if she's out there, she might have information about this new network. She might be the key to stopping version 2. After we hung up, I sat in my truck thinking. Martinez had been the inside person, the one who knew both sides of the game. If she was alive and hiding, she'd be invaluable. But she'd also be a target. I called Chen. "Is Agent Martinez alive?" There was a long pause. "Why do you ask?" "Because if she is, and if she knows about the new network, we need her." "Clarence, some things are classified for good reasons. Director, people are going to die. Drugs are moving. Criminals are adapting. If Martinez can help, she can't. Trust me on this." But I didn't trust her, not entirely. The FBI had their agenda, their procedures, their politics. Meanwhile, trucks were rolling with hidden cargo, and drivers were unwitting mules in version 2 of the game. That night, I made a decision. If the authorities wouldn't act decisively, I'd have to force their hand. Again. I reached out to Tony, Horace's old driver who'd played a fake cop in our citizen's arrest. He was working for a private security firm now, using his experience to train corporate drivers in cargo protection. "Tony, I need a favor. A big one. Clarence, after what happened to Horace, this is about finishing what he started. The network's back, evolved. The feds are moving too slow." We met at an old truck stop that had been closed for renovation. Private, secure, no chance of surveillance. Tony brought 2 others from Horace's old crew, men who'd lost everything when the company went under, who had their own reasons for wanting justice. "What's the plan?" Tony asked. We flipped the script. Instead of intercepting their cargo, we add our own. Add what? Trackers. High-tech ones. The kind that can't be detected by standard sweeps. We tag their shipments, map their entire network. That's illegal as hell. So is drug trafficking, but they've gotten smart, staying just below the radar. We need to expose them dramatically, like before. Horace died for like before. Horace died because he got too close. We'll be smarter, stay distant, use technology, never confront directly. It took a week to set up. Tony had connections in the surveillance industry, got us military-grade trackers the size of rice grains. Nearly invisible, adhesive backing, 90-day battery life, satellite uplink every 6 hours. Marcus, my trainee, unknowingly provided the intel. Every suspicious load he documented, I passed to Tony's team. They'd arrive at the pickup locations hours early, blend in as maintenance workers or security guards, and tag the trailers. Within a month, we had 17 trackers deployed. The data they sent back was revealing, seemingly random routes that, when overlaid, showed clear patterns. Convergence points, distribution hubs, a whole hidden infrastructure. But more importantly, we identified the drivers. Good people, honest truckers who had no idea they were being used. People like Carl Brennan, a 60-year-old owner-operator supporting 3 grandkids. Or Jennifer Wu, a young driver trying to pay off student loans. Or David Mitchell, a veteran using trucking to cope with PTSD. These weren't criminals. They were victims, potential fall guys if the network got exposed. Just like I'd been. I compiled everything into a report: maps, schedules, driver profiles, cargo manifests. But instead of giving it to Chen, I sent it to Patricia Wong. "This is explosive," she said when she called. "But I can't publish without verification." "Then verify it. You're an investigative journalist. Investigate." "Clarence, if this is accurate, we're talking about a nationwide conspiracy. Bigger than Whitman's network." "I know. Why not give this to the FBI?" "Because they'll sit on it. Build a case slowly. Let more drugs flow while they dot every I and cross every T. People are dying now. This needs exposure now." Patricia spent 2 weeks verifying everything. She was thorough, careful, professional. When she called back, her voice was different, excited but scared. "It's all true, every bit of it. And, Clarence, I found something else. The shell company running this new network? It's owned by a subsidiary of White Logistics, Inc. Whitman's old company? Supposedly dissolved after his arrest. But apparently someone bought the assets, including all the intellectual property. Guess who? Who? A company called Santos Shipping Solutions. CEO Maria Santos. My blood ran cold. Martinez wasn't in hiding. She wasn't cooperating. She'd taken over. "Patricia, you need to publish this immediately. I need one more confirmation. I've arranged to interview Maria Santos. She agreed. Probably thinks she can manipulate the story. That's too dangerous. I'll be in a public place, recorded, with backup. I'm not stupid, Clarence." But I was worried. Martinez knew the game from both sides. She'd been trained by the DEA and educated by Whitman. If she really was running version 2, she was more dangerous than any criminal we'd faced. The interview was scheduled for the following Tuesday at a hotel conference room in Miami. Patricia invited me to observe from an adjacent room, watching through a two-way mirror that the hotel used for focus groups. Maria Santos arrived exactly on time. When I saw her, my suspicion was confirmed. It was Martinez, but transformed. Gone was the federal agent intensity, replaced by corporate polish. Designer suit, perfect hair, the image of a successful businesswoman. "Ms. Wong," she said, shaking Patricia's hand. "I understand you have questions about my company. I have questions about your identity, Agent Martinez." Martinez Santos didn't flinch. "I'm afraid you're mistaken. I'm Maria Santos, CEO of Santos Shipping Solutions. Here's my business license, incorporation documents, tax records." All forgeries, I was sure, but good ones. Patricia pressed on. "You match the description of a missing DEA agent involved in the Marcus Whitman case. Coincidence? Many people share similar features. You have detailed knowledge of shipping routes that were sealed in federal testimony. I've been in logistics for 15 years. Knowledge accumulates." It went on like that for an hour. Martinez deflecting, denying, always staying just on the right side of plausible. She was good, trained in interrogation resistance. Then Patricia played her ace. "I have a witness who can identify you as Agent Martinez." "Really? Who?" Patricia looked directly at the mirror, knowing I was behind it. This was the moment. Step forward and confront her, or stay hidden and safe. I made my choice. I walked into the conference room. Martinez's composure finally cracked just for a second, before the mask slipped back on. "Clarence, I heard you were writing books now." "Maria, or do you prefer Agent Martinez?" "I prefer Ms. Santos. As I've been explaining to Ms. Wong, she's confused about my identity." "Cut the act. I know who you are. I know what you're doing. Version 2 of Whitman's network, but smarter, more careful." She smiled, the cold smile I remembered from federal interrogation rooms. "That's quite an accusation. I hope you have proof." "We have 17 tracked shipments linking back to your company. Illegally tracked, without warrants. That won't hold up in court. It doesn't need to. Public opinion is a different kind of court." Patricia was recording everything, her phone visible on the table. Martinez saw it, calculated, made a decision. "Off the record?" she said. "No," Patricia replied immediately. "Then we're done here." Martinez stood to leave. "Bertha Crenshaw says hello," I said. Martinez stopped, turned slowly. "Bertha's in federal prison." "Not anymore?" "Early release, good behavior, new identity. She's very talkative about who really ran Whitman's network. Spoiler, it wasn't Whitman." This was a lie. Bertha was still in prison, would be for years. But Martinez didn't know that, and the doubt in her eyes was beautiful. "You're lying." "Am I? Want to bet your freedom on it?" She sat back down, reassessing. The confident CEO was gone, replaced by the cornered federal agent I'd seen at crime scenes. "What do you want?" "The truth," Patricia said. "On the record." "The truth?" Martinez laughed bitterly. "The truth is that the system is broken. The truth is that for every criminal you arrest, 3 more take their place. The truth is that I spent 10 years fighting a war we couldn't win. So you joined the other side. I took control. There's a difference. Explain it." Martinez looked at me, then at Patricia, then at the mirror as if wondering who else was watching. Then she started talking, not confessing exactly, but explaining, justifying, revealing. Whitman was an idiot, greedy, sloppy, violent. His network moved drugs that killed people, trafficked humans, sold weapons to terrorists. When I was undercover, I saw it all. and I saw how to do it better. Better? I couldn't hide my disgust. Cleaner. No violence, no trafficking, no weapons. Just pharmaceutical-grade products to willing buyers. Harm reduction, not harm creation. You're still moving drugs. I'm moving medicine that happens to be illegal. There's a difference. Tell that to the addicts. The addicts will get their drugs either way. At least mine are pure, measured, safe as illegal substances can be. Patricia was typing furiously, getting every word. You're admitting to running a drug network? I'm explaining a philosophical position about the failure of prohibition and the necessity of controlled distribution. That's semantic gymnastics. That's reality. You want the truth? The war on drugs is over. Drugs won. Now it's about damage control. Using innocent truckers as mules is damage control? No trucker carries more than they can claim ignorance about. Small amounts, hidden carefully. No federal trafficking charges if caught. Misdemeanors at worst. You've thought of everything. I learned from the best. Both sides of the law. What about Whitman's murder? Martinez's expression hardened. Marcus got greedy in prison, tried to run things from inside, stepped on the wrong toes. His death had nothing to do with me. But the timing was fortunate. His death created a power vacuum I was positioned to fill. You were planning this all along. I was surviving. When you're undercover that deep for that long, the lines blur. When the FBI abandoned me, left me in the cold after the Whitman trial, I had two choices: disappear forever, or use what I'd learned. The FBI says you're in witness protection. The FBI says a lot of things, doesn't make them true. This was it. The confession Patricia needed. The truth I'd suspected. But Martinez wasn't done. You know what the real joke is, Clarence? Your little tracker scheme? We knew about it from day one, Tony's inside man. The one who got you the trackers? He works for me. My stomach dropped. Tony? Horace's trusted driver? You're lying. Check your bank records. Tony's been getting regular deposits from a subsidiary of Santos Shipping. He needed money after Horace's company failed, and I needed someone close to you. I wanted to deny it, but the details fit. Tony had been too eager to help, too prepared with the exact equipment we needed. So, this whole thing was another test, to see how you operate now, who you trust, what resources you can marshal. And you failed, Clarence. You trusted the wrong person. But the trackers are tracking exactly what I want them to track. Decoy shipments, false routes, a fictional network to keep you busy while the real operation continues. Patricia stopped typing. You're saying everything Clarence documented is fake? Not fake. Misdirection. There are real drugs in some of those shipments, enough to make it credible. But the pattern he thinks he found, the network he thinks he mapped, that's theater. Why tell us this? Because it doesn't matter. You can publish everything. Who will believe you? A disgraced ex-DEA agent who doesn't officially exist, running a drug network that may or may not be real, confessing to crimes that can't be proven? It's conspiracy theory fodder, nothing more. She stood again, smoothing her suit. This interview is over. Publish what you want. I'll deny everything, sue for libel, tie you up in court for years. Meanwhile, business continues. People are dying, I said. Fewer than before. That's the best we can hope for in this business. She walked out, leaving Patricia and me in stunned silence. We had everything on recording. Her admission, her justification, her threats. But she was right. Without corroboration, without hard evidence, it was just talk. We could still publish, Patricia said, and get sued into oblivion. Maybe that's worth it, to get the truth out there. I thought about it. The truth was out there, but what good would it do? Martinez had planned for this, prepared for exposure. She'd survive the scandal, maybe even thrive on it. Meanwhile, Patricia would be destroyed, and I'd be back to looking over my shoulder. No, I said finally. We need more. Real evidence, not just words. How? I don't know, but there has to be a way. That night, I called Tony. Needed to know if Martinez had been telling the truth about him. Clarence, I can explain, so it was true. The betrayal hit harder than I expected. How long? 6 months. After Horace died, I was broke. Kids to feed, bills piling up. She offered me a job, just information, nothing harmful. Information about me, about your movements, your contacts. I swear I didn't know about the trackers being compromised until I hung up. Another friend turned enemy, or at least turned neutral in a war that didn't allow neutrality. But Tony had inadvertently given me an idea. If Martinez had inside people, maybe I could develop my own. Someone in her organization who might be convinced to flip. I started with the drivers Marcus had identified, the unwitting mules. Jennifer Wu was my best bet. Young, idealistic, the type who'd gone into trucking for the freedom but found only exploitation. I arranged to run into her at a truck stop in Macon. Made it seem casual, just 2 drivers talking over coffee. Slowly, carefully, I led the conversation toward suspicious loads, weird cargo, things that didn't add up. Actually, she said, lowering her voice, I've been wondering about some of my recent hauls. The weights are off, and there's this supervisor who always insists on loading my trailer himself. What's his name? Rodriguez. Acts nervous, always checking his phone. Last week, I saw him slip something into my trailer after the regular cargo was loaded. Did you report it? To who? The company says he's reliable. The cops would think I'm paranoid. And I need this job. What if I told you Rodriguez works for a drug network? That you've been carrying illegal cargo without knowing it? Her face went pale. You're serious. Dead serious. And if they get caught, you'll take the fall. But I didn't know it. Try explaining that to a federal judge. I told her everything. Whitman, Martinez, the evolution of the network. Her hands shook as she absorbed it. What do I do? Help me expose them, document everything Rodriguez does. Video if possible. Get evidence that can't be denied or explained away. That's dangerous. So is carrying drugs. At least this way you're on the right side when it falls apart. She agreed reluctantly. Over the next month, Jennifer became my inside eye. She documented Rodriguez's activities, recorded conversations, even managed to photograph him placing packages in her trailer. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Bertha Crenshaw reached out through her lawyer. She wants to talk, the lawyer said, in person. Says she has information about Maria Santos that you need to hear. The meeting was arranged at the federal prison where Bertha was serving her sentence. She looked older, harder, but also somehow clearer. Prison had stripped away the pretense. Clarence, she said when I sat down across from her. Thanks for coming. What do you want, Bertha? Revenge. Martinez sold me out, let me take the fall while she took over the operation. I thought we were partners. You were both criminals. True, but there are rules, even among criminals. She broke them. So I kept insurance. Documents, recordings, proof that Martinez was running things from inside the DEA. I hid them before my arrest. Where? First, I want a deal. Reduced sentence, minimum security, protection from her people. I can't promise that. Then get someone who can. I called Director Chen from the prison parking lot. Explained about Bertha's offer, the potential evidence. Chen was on a plane to Florida within hours. The negotiation took 2 days. Bertha's lawyer pushed hard, but the promise of evidence against Martinez was too valuable to pass up. Finally, a deal was struck. 10 years off her sentence, transfer to minimum security, new identity after release. Bertha gave up the location, a storage unit in Ocala, paid up for 5 years in advance under an alias. Chen's team retrieved everything. Recordings of Martinez discussing operations while still supposedly a federal agent. Financial records showing payments from Whitman's organization to accounts Martinez controlled. Even video of Martinez meeting with cartel representatives. "This is it," Chen said, reviewing the evidence. "This proves she was dirty from the beginning. So arrest her. It's not that simple. She's built legal buffers, jurisdictional challenges. We need to be strategic." "How long?" "Weeks, maybe months. People are dying while you strategize. And more will die if we move too fast and she escapes. Trust the process, Clarence." But I was tired of trusting processes, tired of strategic patience while drugs flowed and innocent drivers were used. So I made a decision that would either end this or end me. I called Martinez directly. She answered on the second ring. "Clarence, I wondered when you'd call. We need to meet privately." "That sounds like a trap." "No trap, just a conversation. You and me figuring out how this ends. It ends with you accepting reality. The network exists because demand exists. Remove me. Someone else takes over. It's evolutionary. Maybe, but maybe not. Meet me and we'll discuss it." She agreed, surprisingly. Set the location herself, a public park in Tampa, middle of the day, plenty of witnesses. Smart, safe, or so she thought. I arrived early, sat on a bench overlooking the water. When Martinez appeared, she looked different. Tired, stressed, the weight of running a criminal empire showing. "You look like hell," I said. "Running a business is harder than it looks, especially this business. Bertha sends her regards." Martinez's face tightened. "You've been busy. So has Director Chen. Amazing what Bertha kept hidden. Videos, recordings, enough to put you away for life. If they can find me. They already have. 3 blocks away. FBI surveillance van. Another team at the park entrance. Snipers on the adjacent buildings in case you run." She looked around casually, spotting the surveillance she'd missed. "You wore a wire." "Several. Audio, video, GPS, everything admissible." "I haven't said anything incriminating." "You showed up. Maria Santos meeting with Clarence, the man who exposed Whitman. Hard to explain that coincidence. Hardly proof of Rodriguez was arrested this morning. Jennifer Wu's evidence was very thorough. He's already talking, trying to make a deal." That hit home. Martinez's composure cracked. "You orchestrated all of this." "I learned from the best. You taught me that the game has rules, but also that rules can be bent. I just bent them better." "This won't stop anything. The network will continue without me. Maybe, but it'll be disrupted, disorganized, and the next person won't have your knowledge, your connections. It'll be messy, visible, easier to stop." "You're naive." "I'm hopeful. There's a difference." She stood to leave, but the FBI was already moving in. Professional, quiet, no drama. Just agents appearing from nowhere, surrounding us. Weapons visible but not drawn. "Agent Martinez," Director Chen said, appearing with perfect timing. "Or should I say, Ms. Santos? You're under arrest for conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, money laundering, and about 30 other federal crimes." Martinez looked at me as they cuffed her. "This isn't over." "Yeah, it is for you anyway." As they led her away, I felt empty. Not triumphant, not relieved, just tired. The network would continue in some form. New criminals would emerge. Innocent truckers would still be exploited. But for now, for today, we'd won a battle in an endless war. Patricia published her story a week later. Front page, nationwide coverage. The full expose of how a DEA agent became a drug queen pin. The trucking industry went into crisis mode. New regulations, mandatory inspections, surveillance systems. Some of it would help. Most of it would just make honest drivers' lives harder. I went back to driving, but it was different now. Every load was suspicious, every dispatcher potentially corrupt, every mile potentially dangerous. The innocence of the open road was gone forever. Marcus, my trainee, took over some of my routes. He was good, careful, observant. But I worried about him, about all the young drivers entering an industry that had shown its dark side. "Any advice?" he asked on his first solo long haul. "Trust your instincts. If something smells wrong, it probably is. And always, always check your load." Even if they tell you not to? Especially then. 6 months after Martinez's arrest, I got another call from Chen. They'd broken up most of the network, arrested dozens of conspirators, seized millions in drugs and assets, but there were still shadows, still unknowns. "We want to hire you," she said. "As an agent, as a consultant, training drivers to spot suspicious activity, helping us understand the industry from inside. Legitimate work, government salary, pension. I'm a trucker, not a cop. You're someone who understands both worlds. That's rare and valuable." I thought about it for a week. The steady pay was tempting, the chance to help other drivers avoid what I'd been through. But it would mean giving up the road, the freedom, the simplicity of point A to point B. In the end, I split the difference. Part-time consulting, part-time driving. Best of both worlds, or maybe worst. Time would tell. The first training session was at a trucking school in Jacksonville. Room full of eager young faces, all thinking they were entering a simple, honest profession. I had to tell them the truth without destroying their dreams. "The road," I began, "is the circulatory system of America. Everything you buy, eat, wear, use, it moved on a truck. That makes truckers essential. It also makes us targets." I told them about the signs to watch for, the patterns that didn't fit, the tiny discrepancies that suggested something wrong. But I also told them about the good parts, the sunrise over empty highways, the camaraderie at truck stops, the pride in delivering essential goods. "Most loads are exactly what they claim to be," I said. "But for the ones that aren't, you need to be ready. Document everything, trust your instincts, and never let anyone make you carry something you haven't verified." One young woman raised her hand. "What if they threaten us, like they threatened you?" "Then you call for help. FBI, state police, even me if necessary. You're not alone out there, even when it feels like you are." After the session, she approached me privately. "My brother's a driver. Been acting strange lately, nervous, taking routes that don't make sense. What's his name?" "David Chen. Drives for Sunshine Transport out of Miami." Sunshine. Even after everything, that name made my blood run cold. "Give me his number, I'll check on him." David Chen was indeed in trouble. Not drugs this time, but human trafficking. The network had evolved again, moving people instead of product. Same methods, different cargo, equal evil. It took another month of investigation, more unwitting drivers identified, more evidence gathered. This time, the FBI moved faster, had learned from the Martinez case. The arrests were swift, comprehensive, effective. But there would be another network, another evolution, Another group of criminals seeing trucks as perfect cover for their operations. It was exhausting, endless, Sisyphean. "Why do you keep fighting?" Patricia asked during an interview for her follow-up book. "You could walk away, retire, disappear, because someone has to. Because every load of drugs we stop, every trafficked person we free, every innocent driver we protect, that matters. Even if it never ends, especially because it never ends. Evil doesn't take breaks. Neither can we." The book came out a year later. Shadow Routes: The Continuing War on America's Highways. It didn't sell as well as the first one. Sequels rarely do, but it reached the people who needed it. Drivers, dispatchers, law enforcement, the ones on the front lines. I still drive sometimes. Not as much, not as far, but enough to keep my finger on the pulse of the industry. Last week, I picked up a load of strawberries from Plant City. Legitimate cargo, verified and clean. But I still checked it 3 times, still documented everything. Still felt that familiar tension until delivery was complete. Because that's the thing about the Shadow Network. It's not one organization, but an idea. The idea that trucks are vulnerable, drivers are expendable, and crime can hide in plain sight on America's highways. As long as that idea exists, someone will try to exploit it. So I keep driving, keep watching, keep teaching others to do the same. It's not much, maybe, but it's something. And sometimes in this business, something is everything. The other day, a young driver flagged me down at a rest stop. Said he'd read my books, attended my training, spotted something suspicious in his load. "What should I do?" he asked. I gave him Chen's number, told him to document everything, walked him through the process. Turned out he'd stumbled onto a weapons smuggling ring, automatic rifles hidden in furniture shipments. His vigilance probably saved lives. "Thanks," he said after the FBI took over, "for teaching us to look." "Thank Horace," I said. "He's the one who taught me." Because that's how it works. Knowledge passed from driver to driver, generation to generation. The criminals evolve, but so do we. They get smarter, we get warier. It's an arms race on 18 wheels, and the stakes are everything. I think about Horace often. What he'd make of all this, the networks we've exposed, the lives we've saved. I think he'd be proud, but not satisfied. Never satisfied. Because the road goes on, the trucks keep rolling, and somewhere out there someone's planning the next evolution of the Shadow Network. But we'll be ready. We're always ready now. Watching, documenting, refusing to be blind mules in someone else's crime. The road might be dangerous, but it's our road, and we'll be damned if we let them take it from us. The sun's setting now as I write this, painting the sky over the truck stop in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful, peaceful, deceptive. Because darkness is coming, and with it, the night shifts begin. Thousands of truckers heading out into the dark, carrying the economy on their backs. Most will have normal runs, but some won't. Some will smell that sweet chemical wrong smell, find that extra weight, spot that nervous supervisor, and because of what we've learned, what we've shared, what we've survived, they'll know what to do. They'll open the trailer door, and whatever they find, whatever horror or crime or conspiracy awaits, they won't face it alone, because we're all connected now, all watching, all ready to stand up and say no. Not in my truck, not on my watch, not anymore. The Shadow Network thought truckers were perfect victims, isolated, vulnerable, disposable. They were wrong. We're witnesses. We're warriors. We're the thin 18-wheeled line between order and chaos on America's highways. And we're not going anywhere.